Recording in progress.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, honourable members, all the visitors and the team from the South African Police Service, and so to the Deputy Ministers of Police. Before we begin, I just want to check, Babalwa, do we have quorum?
Good morning, Chair. Yes, we do have a quorum. We can start a meeting.
Thank you, Babalwa. I would like to start with the adoption of the agenda. Can we move to adopt the agenda? Honourable Schikkeling.
Good morning, Chairperson, and good morning to all the colleagues on the platform and the SAPS. Chairperson, I move for the adoption of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Schikkeling. Honourable Taibosh.
I second that, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Taibosh. Colleagues, we then move to adopt the agenda. Just in terms of apologies, the Minister of Police has sent an apology due to attending the cabinet meeting this morning. And then we have also received apology from Honourable Matthys, who is unable to attend this morning. I then would like to move to the some general opening remarks. I'm not going to go into too much detail today, as we've got quite a discussion, and I think there'd be more to conclude on. But just basically today we will be considering or looking at the latest quarterly crime statistics that were released last week on Friday. These are specific, the fourth quarter crime statistics for the 2024-25 financial year. And it's important that we note that there have been some declines in certain categories, murder, attempted murder, and contact-related crimes. And it's important that we then discuss what the serious systemic challenges are, because the numbers are still significantly high, with extremely high numbers of people being murdered in the country, amongst all the other horrific things that are also happening. And I think it's important that we, although it's critical that we, properly measure these crimes, that we don't fall into the trap of just looking at numbers, but that we consider and always remember that there are human beings and lives being impacted by these horrific crimes. I think something that will likely also pop up is the more integrated focus that we've been calling on or calling for with other parts of the criminal justice system. I think it's critical for us to dive into that as well in our discussion today. And then just in terms of general accountability, asking certain questions and being able to engage each other. I think something that needs to also be mentioned here today as we combat this, combat the very high crime figures. And I'm going to use an example, is still hearing about certain cases where police members that have made themselves guilty of being part of criminal offences need to face real consequences for that. I had a report sent to me just in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I will share this later on during our discussion, of a specific member in the Eastern Cape whom in his actual disciplinary pleaded guilty to committing armed robbery. And his sanction was 2 months of unpaid suspension. It simply cannot be that we allow someone that admits to committing an armed robbery to then still continue to work in the South African Police Service. I think that forms part of the accountability measures and things we will discuss. We'll also speak about the relevance of oversight to see the progress, and that'll be continued with all of the members as well, the members of Parliament specifically, to ask questions about the feedback that we are actually receiving regarding oversight. And then I think the last 2 or 3 things is to also ask questions and discuss whether the solutions that we are looking at with regards to combating crime are community-centered and how communities are brought into that. And I hope that the discussion will be constructive today, and that we'll be able to have a fruitful engagement. Colleagues, before we begin with the actual crime statistics, I would like us to just consider minutes from previous meetings. Those are the minutes from the 7th of May, the 14th of May, and the 21st of May. Babalwa, would you mind please sharing these minutes on the screen for us? Thank you, Babalwa. The first set is for the 7th of May. All of the honourable members would have received these sets of minutes. Can we move to adopt the minutes as they are?
Chairperson, Honourable Klute is moving.
Thank you, Honourable Klute. Can I have a second to that? Honourable Schikkeling.
I second Honourable Klute. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Schikkeling, for the second. We then move to adopt the first set of minutes. You can consider the second ones. Thank you, Babalwa. The second set is for the meeting of the 14th of May. Can we move to adopt these minutes? Honourable Mokoena. Honourable Mokoena, I think you're muted.
Thank you very much, Chair. I move for the adoption of the minutes as presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Mokoena. Can I have a second to that, please? Honourable Schikkeling.
Thank you, Chairperson. I second Honourable Mokoena. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Schikkeling. So we then adopt those minutes. That was specifically for the meeting regarding the attacks on long-haul bus services and others, and also linked to our focus on specifically the crime of extortion. May we then share the third set of minutes, please, Babalwa? There we go. The third set is for the 21st of May. May we move to adopt these minutes? Honourable Taibosh.
I move to adopt, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Taibosh. May I have a second to that? Honourable Mokoena. You're muted, Honourable Mokoena.
Thank you, Chair. I second.
Thank you very much, Honourable Mokoena. We then move to adopt the third set of minutes, and that was for the discussion, amongst other things, with regards to the joint report on agriculture, also the report following the petition of organised crime, or rather gang violence, in the northern suburbs in Nelson Mandela Bay, and then to the feedback from both IPID and the DPCI regarding the recommendations and the work that was done regarding state capture. Thank you, Babalwa. We then move to adopt those minutes. Colleagues, before we continue, I would like to give an opportunity to the Deputy Ministers of Police. I think I'm struggling to see through all the names, but I believe both of our Deputy Ministers are present, and I would like to give them an opportunity, one of them an opportunity to maybe just do some brief remarks before we allow the South African Police Service to do the presentation on the fourth quarter crime statistics for the 24-25 financial year. Dear Matale, I see your camera went on first. You're more than welcome. Thank you, dear.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair, and good morning to you and the members of the committee. Morning to the National Commissioner and the Provincial Commissioners on the platform and management of SAPS. We really appreciate the opportunity to be here. The Minister will have wished to be part of us, as you indicated in your opening remarks, Chair, that he has sent an apology. We are here to present the crime stats for this quarter, for the last quarter, which were communicated to the country on Friday by the Minister, that reflect a consecutive decline in terms of the crimes levels in the country. This achievement, Chair, came as a result of our efforts. The committee and the members of this committee, the leadership of SAPS, the manner in which we have approached our work is yielding the results that you see in the stats, because we believe that as a committee, you are playing a critical role in this regard. And therefore, as we talk of the successes that we are seeing, it is not us who must claim that victory. It is all of us, yourselves included. You have already said that as we discuss the stats, we must also raise difficult questions that will assist us in our fight. For instance, how integrated are we together with justice on how we work in this space? Those are questions that really make us to be on our toes, and we think if we continue on this trajectory, we will definitely emerge victorious. We have also observed, Chair, that the decline in the crime stats, it's also affecting rural communities. We believe that there should be zero crime even within that community. We know that one death is one death too many, but we must appreciate that there is this positive decline. And if you look at the rural crimes, there were 12 murders in the last quarter, and now it has gone to 6. And when you disaggregate the people that have been affected, we find that a farmer is one amongst the 6. I'm not saying it's okay for one person to die, but we must appreciate this decline. And this decline is not only a decline because SAPS is doing an excellent job. It's a decline of a collaborative efforts between farmers and those who are in farming communities working together with the South African police that we have seen this decline. And this I'm saying because it's really a team effort. And I think the officers will, when they make a presentation, unpack how we are working together with the farming community in this regard. Without any further waste of time, Chair, let me allow through you the National Commissioner to make a presentation together with the relevant people that are assigned for this. Through you, Chair, National Commissioner, may you please come in. Thank you, Chairperson, for the opportunity. It's always a pleasure for us to interact with yourself and your team.
Thank you, DM. General Masemola, you're more than welcome.
Good morning. Good morning, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable members. Thank you very much. Also, the DM Bushielo, DM Matale, and all colleagues that are on the platform. Honorable Chairperson, I'm not sure we start straight away with the crime stats, or we start with the other matters that Honorable Chair mentioned?
General, no, let's start with the crime stats. I think through our engagements afterwards, we can just have a discussion. Thank you, General.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Well, just to reiterate that the work that has been done is for all, done by all the cooperation of the provincial commissioners, the hard work done by everybody, the efforts. We are aware that we are not yet at where we're supposed to be. The volume of crime is still high, but indeed, Operation Channeler 2 is yielding some results, and we are in the process going to tweak our plans. We are in the process, especially targeting those areas that are stubborn, especially your violent crimes, your gang-related crimes, your drugs, as well as trucks and carjacking. We are definitely going to improve in that regard. With those words, Honorable Chair, let me give General Skukuni to take us forward with the crime statistics. Thank you very much.
I'm trying to. Good morning, Honorable Chair. Good morning, the Deputy Ministers of Police and members on the platform. I hope that I'm audible and my presentation is visible.
Yes, it is a general proceed.
Chairperson, in line with the directives that we must keep our presentations short and to the point, we decided to try and follow the guideline that you have provided by starting up with a summary of what the crime picture for the current quarter looks like. We are aware that the period that we are covering is for the period of the 1st of January 2025 up to March 2025. So the summary for the subcategories of the crime that we are going to be presenting today, we start with a summary that for the 17 community reported crimes for the current quarter, we have recorded a reduction of 809 in terms of the murder counts. We have also seen that the Eastern Cape recorded the highest number of murders per capita, that is 15 per 100,000. That is when we take into consideration the total population of the respective provinces, because if we were to stick to only the raw numbers, the provinces with the lowest population will then be skewed as if like they are the ones which have the lowest
Sorry, General.
matters. But
Sorry,
when you
General
bring in
Sekukune,
the
your
per capita or
presentation
the
isn't
total
moving.
population
Your
of those respective
General
provinces,
Sekukune,
then you can then be in a
Good
position to
morning, Chair.
compare
I'm sorry,
apples
I've
to
been
apples.
struggling to connect. Good
Then,
morning to you,
moving
Chair.
on onto
morning,
the
General
summary,
Patekile.
we
General
found that
Sekukune,
most of the matters were attributed to arguments, misunderstanding, or provocations. From the
General
sample size
Sekukune.
that we have drawn, this was
Colleagues, is there anyone that can, sorry, General Sekukune, your presentation is not moving. It's still on the cover slide.
oh, okay. GM,
Your presentation is not moving.
oh, okay. I'll try to get somebody to move it.
Thank you, DM and General Sekukune. If we could just, there we go. Sorry, General, just a second. Reverend Meshwe, Honorable Reverend Meshwe, your hand was up. Was that what you were wanting to say?
Yes, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. Sorry about that. General Sekukune, you're welcome to continue. We can see now if we could just make it full. Yes, the slideshow from the beginning. Now it's on the cover page again.
Let me just try to move one slide, then you will guide me whether it has moved or not.
Okay.
I have moved to the first slide. Has it moved?
No, General. It is still on. It shows the cover page. There we go. Now it's on.
Okay, thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you, General.
I think I have to start again then. As directed by the Portfolio Committee with regard to the presentations that the SAPS is making, we try to follow the directive, and then we start with a summary of the crimes that have been reported to the South African Police Service from the period 1 January 2025 up to the 31st or the 30th of March 2025. The summary indicates that we have recorded a decrease in terms of the murders, that is 809 counts for the current quarter. And as we will see in the next slide, we observe that all the provinces have recorded a decrease with the exception of the Northern Cape, which has recorded an increase. Then we moved on to the per capita, and we found that the province of the Eastern Cape was the one which recorded the highest number of murders per capita. That is in the instance when you take the total population of the various provinces. When you take into consideration the population of the respective provinces and do the per capita murder. And the reason for doing that, Chair, is to move away from the fact of displaying a distorted picture by only showing only the number of people that were killed per province, because it is a given fact that the provinces with the least number of people are most likely to have the least number of murders. But when you bring into consideration the total population of the respective provinces and then divide that by the number of murders per 100,000, then it paints a different picture and it enables you to compare apples to apples. Hence, we also give the raw numbers for the contact crimes or the murders, and we also give the per capita of the respective crimes. So given that, we found that the Eastern Cape was the province with the highest murder per capita. And the other thing that we have noted is that the Eastern Cape was again the province with the highest rape per capita. So the Eastern Cape is leading in both per capita murders and per capita rapes. Then moving on to the number of what were the contributing factors to the murders, we found that from the sample that we had drawn, 1,137 were indicated to have taken place because of arguments, misunderstanding, or provocation. Then when we moved on to the places of occurrence of the murders, Again, from the same sample size, we found that 2,990 of the murders was indicated to have taken place at a public place, a street, or an open field, and that was indicated in, like I've indicated, in 2,990 of the murders. We found that firearms were still the weapon of choice, and it was indicated that 2,559 murders were committed with a firearm. Then the second highest weapon of choice for the commission of the murder was knives, which was used in 829 of the murders, and sharp instruments in 364 counts.
Chairperson,
Sorry, General Sekukune, Reverend Meshwe, your hand is up.
the slide is not moving again, sir.
He's still on the same slide, Reverend. He is at point number 1.4 about the where it says firearms are still the weapon of choice for murder.
Oh, my apology.
No problem, Honorable Reverend. Sorry, General Sekukune, you're welcome to continue.
All right, thank you, sir. Then we talk about the firearms being the weapon of choice. Then we move on to the attempted murders. We found that the attempted murders decreased by 428 counts. Assault GBH decreased by 2,400. Maybe let me pick a highlighter so that it can indicate where I am in the presentation. The assault GBH decreased by 2,457. Robbery with aggravating circumstances decreased by 3,677. We had 5 counts less in terms of CITs. In the current quarter, we had 35 counts, whereas in the previous comparable period, we had 40 counts. That what's led to the 5 counts less in terms of the CITs that were recorded in the current quarter. And the majority of these CITs were committed when the armored vehicle was on the road. We found that this was the case in 22 of the 35 CITs that happened, that 22 incidents is when the armored vehicle was on the road. Then moving on to the rape, we found that the rape increased by 36 counts, whereby, again, as I've indicated, the Eastern Cape recorded the highest number of rape per capita, that is 25 per 100,000. Then for the places of occurrence for the rapes, we found that the majority of the rapes were committed in the residences of the perpetrator victim, including residences known by the victim or perpetrators. This was indicated in 4,790 of the rapes. Then commercial crime increased by 1,581 counts, and the increases were recorded across the 7 provinces, with the exception of the Eastern Cape and Mpumalanga, which have recorded decreases. Then all the subcategories of crime detected as a result of police action are on the increase, and this is a welcome trajectory of change, because contrary to the normal crimes, we desire and aspire that this subcategory of crime detected as a result of police action should be on the increase. This is a proxy for proactive policing initiative, and it includes crimes like confiscation of firearms and ammunition. So when this crime goes up, it means that more firearms and ammunition is taken out of the wrong hands. So for the 4 crimes that make up this subcategory called crime detected as a result of police action, we have recorded increases across the 4 crimes that make up this subcategory. I moved on, Chairperson. It's now on the table. Can I get confirmation that you also see the table?
Perfect, General. We can see it.
All right. Thank you, sir. Then this is literally now the raw numbers that have been reported to the South African Police Service in the current quarter. On the left-hand side, we have the numbers for the total population or the Republic of South Africa. And then on the left-hand side, we have the provincial comparison. So the way to properly read this table, if I were to use the crime of murder, this is the current quarter, January 2025 to March 2025. We have reported 5,727 murders. In the previous comparable period in 2024, we had 6,536 murders. and this led to a count difference of 809 matters, a percentage change of 2.4. And in terms of the provinces, the numbers that are reflected here are the total number of matters that had been reported within that particular province. For instance, Eastern Cape at 1020, Free State 214, and Gauteng 1413. If the color code is indicated as green, it means that this number, like you see for the Eastern Cape, is lower than what was previously reported in the previous comparable period. And if it is color coded red, it shows that it is an increase over what was previously reported. So we see, I'll only speak to those for South Africa, and the rest can then be read off from the table if people are interested in checking the provincial comparison in relation to the other provinces and in relation to the national total. We recorded 6 counts higher for sexual offenses, and this 6 counts higher is because of these sexual offenses is made up of these 4 crimes. That is your rape, sexual assault, attempted sexual offenses, and contact sexual offenses. So the sum total of these is what led to the increase in sexual offenses of 6. Now, the subcategories of these sexual offenses, like I indicated, we had recorded 10,688 counts of rape, which resulted in an increase of 36. That is, we had in the previous comparable period 10,652, and currently we are sitting at 10,688. Sexual assault, we had recorded a reduction of 3. Attempted sexual offenses, a reduction of 68, and contact sexual offenses, an increase of 41. And you can see which of the provinces recorded increases per crime type. Then moving on to the attempted murders, we recorded a reduction of 428. Assault GBH, a reduction of 2,457. Common assault, 1,721 reduction. Common robbery, a reduction of 949. Robbery with aggravating circumstances, a reduction of 3,677. And then the subtotal of the contact crimes, we had recorded a reduction of 10,035. We already talked of the total sexual offenses, and now we move on to the subcategories of robbery with aggravating circumstances, which is also indicated here as the bigger subcrime, and these are the subcategories that make up the robbery with aggravating circumstances. We start with the trio crime because in line with the victims of crime survey, these were the crime that had been indicated that they are the crimes that are most feared by members of the community. And we look at they are made up of carjacking, robbery at residential premises, and non-residential premises. We recorded decreases across the 3 crimes. That is 805 reduction in terms of carjacking, 21 reduction in terms of robbery at residential, 1,005 in terms of robbery at non-residential premises, and the sum total of the trio crime reduced by 1,831. As I indicated in the previous slide, we recorded 5 counts less in terms of the cash in transit robberies. From the previous period, we had 40. Currently, we are sitting at 35. That is a count of 5 less. We did not have any bank robberies and truck hijackings. We recorded a reduction of 99 from 459 to 359. Then moving on to the category of contact-related crimes, which is we recorded reductions in the 2 crimes. I'm getting an error message that my internet is unstable. I hope it will take me through to the end. Then we found that we recorded the reduction of arson 117, a reduction of malicious damage to property 918, contact-related crimes, a reduction of 1,035. And then for property-related crimes subcategory, burglary at non-residential premises, the reduction was 1,694. Burglary at residential premises, a reduction of 2,930, theft of motor vehicle and motorcycle, a reduction of 771, theft out of 1,443, stock theft 557, and the sum total of the five reduced by 7,395. Then the subcategory of other serious crimes, the three crimes that make up this subcategory, only commercial crime recorded an increase of 1,581. And as we have indicated, 7 of the provinces recorded increases, and the only 2 provinces that recorded decreases was the Eastern Cape and also Mpumalanga. Then for the 17 community reported crimes, we realized a reduction of 23,179. Then moving on to the crime detected as a result of police action, we have retrieved more guns and ammunition from the wrong hands, 104 counts. That is from 3,919 to the current 4,023. Drug-related crime increased by 6,921. Driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs increased by 2,057. Sexual offenses as a result of police action increased by 604, and the sum total of crime detected as a result of police action increased by 9,686. Then on the next slide, we look at the contact crimes or crimes against the person. We recorded reductions all the 3 months that make up the quarter and as actions. Then on the next slide, we look at the top 30 stations in terms of contact crimes. What we observed here is that from number 1 up to number 7, all these stations that are in the top 7 are from the Western Cape, with the exception of Inanda at number 4, which is in KwaZulu-Natal. The top 7 bar number 4 are all in the Western Cape. And then 8 and 9 is made by 10 is KwaZulu-Natal, meaning that the top 10 stations for contact crimes are made up of 6 stations from the Western Cape, 2 stations from Gauteng, and 2 stations from KwaZulu-Natal. Then the murders, we recorded reduction across all the months that make up the quarter in January and February and March. And again, the Northern Cape was the only province which had recorded increase in terms of the murder. And in terms of percentage contribution to the total, the province, when you only look at the raw numbers for the murders, the province of Gauteng has the highest number of murders, and it contributes 25% of the murders. The second highest is KwaZulu-Natal, which contributes 21 to the total of the murders. Western Cape contributes 19%, and then the Eastern Cape 18%. However, when you bring into consideration the population of the province, and then you take the number of murders and divide by the total population of the province, as we see in the table here, what are the population of the respective provinces in terms of the 2021 mid-year population estimates. We found that the Eastern Cape is the province with the highest per capita murder, 15 per 100,000. The second highest is Western Cape with 14 per 100,000, and KwaZulu-Natal is at number 3 with 10 per 100,000, and the province with the least per capita murder is the province of Limpopo with 3 per 100,000. Then looking at the causative factors of the murders, from the sample size of 5,361 counts of the murders that had been reported to the police, we found that it was indicated in 1,137 that the causative factors was as a result of argument, misunderstanding, road rage, or provocation. And the province which indicated this phenomenon mostly was the province of the KZN, which indicated that 343 of the murders were as a result of argument, misunderstanding, road rage, or provocation. And the second highest was the Western Cape with 237. The third highest was the Eastern Cape with 3. And then number 4 was the Northern Cape with 101 of the murders. Then I will then move to gang-related murders were indicated. to be in 240 of the incidents. And we found that the Western Cape was the province which indicated the highest number of gang-related murders, 208 of the 240, and the second highest province was Gauteng with 22, and the third was the Eastern Cape with 10. The rest, we can see that, maybe let me talk to this one. Law enforcement and security guards killed in the line of duty. We had 18 counts. That is all the law enforcement, like your security, your metro police, etc. And this number excludes the police. So we had 18 law enforcement and security guards that were killed in the line of duty. And when you bring into consideration that the 22 police officers were killed, this brings to the total 40 law enforcement related personnel that were killed. Then the places of occurrence, again from the same sample size for the murders, we found that 2,990 of the murders was indicated to have taken place at the public place. The highest province which indicated such phenomenon was the Gauteng province with 765 counts. The second highest was the Western Cape with 718 of the murders attributable to have taken place at the public place, and KwaZulu-Natal at number 3 with 634. Now, on the second line or the second row, we show that there was 1,589 murders which was indicated to have taken place at the residence of the perpetrator or victim, including residences known by victim perpetrators, that would be your family members, friends, and neighbors. And the province which indicated this as the most common place of occurrence for the murder was KwaZulu-Natal, with 361 counts of the murders having taken place at the residence of the perpetrator or victim. The second highest was the Eastern Cape with 353, and then the third highest was Western Cape with 260. 190 of the murders have taken place at outlets where alcohol is being sold, like your Shebeen's Tavern and nightclubs, and the province with the highest number of murders that had taken place at Shebeen's was Gauteng with 50 of the murders. And then the second spot is shared by the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal with 32 counts each. Then on the next slide, we look at the murders or attacks on rural communities for murders. We see that there were 6 counts of murders that happened on rural communities. This is a reduction of 2 counts when you compare to the same comparable period in the previous quarter. That is, when you take the January to March 2024, we had 8 counts, and then currently we had 6 counts, and that gives you a reduction of 2 counts. However, if you do a trend analysis, in the previous quarter we had 12 counts, and currently we had 6. The breakdown of the people that ended up being victims of murders in the farming community, we had
We have lost you, General. It's gone quiet. There we go. There we go. You're back. Can we start again on this slide, please?
Oh, I was muted.
No, I think the signal is just not great, General, the network. But we can hear you well again now.
Yeah, I see it flickers that my network is unstable. What I said with regard to this slide is that we had 6 murders that had been recorded in the current quarter, that is from January to March 2025. And then when you look at the comparable period in 2024, we had 8 counts in 2024 for the same period, and currently we have 6 counts, and this is a reduction of 2 counts. But when you take into consideration what is normally termed a trend analysis, whereby you compare the subsequent quarters on a trend, in the previous quarter we had 12 murders that were related or classified as attacks on rural community, and currently we are sitting at 6. So in terms of the trend for reduction in the trend, it's 6, but however, when you compare similar periods to similar period, the reduction is 2 counts. And then we move on to identify what is the classification of these people that were killed on farms. The 6 is made up of 2 people that were classified as employees on the farm, one in the Gauteng province and one in KwaZulu-Natal. One was classified as a farm dweller, that was in the province of Mpumalanga. And then we had 2 that were classified as farmers, one in the Free State and one in Limpopo. And then we also had one that was classified as a farm murder that happened in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. So in terms of the breakdowns, KwaZulu-Natal had 2 murders that were classified as farm-related, and then Free State had 1, Gauteng 1, Limpopo and Mpumalanga had 1 each. Then on the next slide, we move on to the rapes. Of the 3 months that make up the rape, we achieved a reduction only in the month of February, that is 113. In the month of February of the previous comparable period, we had 3,446. Current February, we had 3,333, leading to the reduction of 113. Then when we do the provincial comparison, the provinces which had recorded increases in terms of the rape was led by KwaZulu-Natal, which recorded 128 counts more compared to the previous period. Currently, KwaZulu-Natal recorded 2,127 counts of rape, whereas in the previous comparable period, they had 1,999 counts. Then the second highest was in Mpumalanga with 85 counts, whereby in the current period we had 837, and in the previous comparable period we had 752. The third province which recorded an increase was Free State with 8 counts higher, and the last province was the Northern Cape with 5 counts higher. And then in the long version of the presentation that we have distributed, we saw that the station with the highest number of rapes was the station Thohoyandou. Then similar to the murder, we also take into consideration the population of the respective provinces, and we have indicated that the Eastern Cape has the highest per capita rape, that is 25 per 100,000, and the second province with the highest per capita rape is 24 per 100,000, which is the Free State. And then the province with the least per capita rape is the province of Gauteng, which had 12 per capita. Then looking at the places of occurrence for the rapes. For the rapes, we took a sample size of 7,660 counts, and then it was indicated in 4,790 incidents that these rapes happened at the residences of the perpetrator or victim, including residences known by victim, perpetrator, like family, friends, and neighbors. And most of these rapes that had taken place at the residence of the perpetrator or victim was indicated to be the province of KwaZulu-Natal, with 945 counts of the rapes having taken place there. The second highest is Gauteng with 859. The third is the Eastern Cape with 710, and the fourth is the Western Cape with 622. 1,533 of the rapes were indicated to have taken place at the public place, street, open field, recreational park, or abandoned buildings. Of these, the province that had the highest number of rapes happening at public place was the province of Gauteng with 336 counts. The second highest was KwaZulu-Natal with 290, Limpopo with 177, and Mpumalanga with 467. Then we had murders that had taken rapes. 80 rapes have taken place at educational institutions, which include schools, universities, etc. It was indicated in the province of the Eastern Cape that 19 of these rapes have taken place at educational institutions. The second highest was KZN with 17 counts and Limpopo with 10 counts. Then we move on to the subcategories of robbery with aggravating circumstances. The only month of the 3 months that make up the quarter where we recorded an increase was in the month of March, where in the previous comparable period we had 16 counts, currently we had 14 counts. This led to an increase of 2 counts. I think I said the reduction. That was an error. It's an increase of 2 counts. Then when we look at the provinces which recorded increases in terms of the robberies of cash in transit, we had the Northwest, which recorded 3 counts. These 3 counts are also the count difference because in the previous comparable period, Northwest did not record any cash in transit robberies. And then the second highest increase was the Gauteng province, which recorded 1 count higher because in the current period, they recorded 13, and in the previous comparable period, they recorded 12 counts. There were the same number of robbery of cash in transit for KwaZulu-Natal and the Northern Cape, hence the color coding 0, because it shows that the count difference for the current and the previous comparable period is 0. Then of the 35 cash in transit robberies, we indicated that most of them happened while the armored vehicle was on the road. It was determined in 22 of these incidents that the armored vehicle was on the road. 11 of these 22 was in KwaZulu-Natal, 2 in the Eastern Cape, 6 in Gauteng, 2 in Northwest, 1 in Mpumalanga, and 11 were classified as cross pavements. Of these 11, 7 were in Gauteng, 1 in Limpopo, 1 in the Western Cape, 1 in Northwest, and 1 in the Eastern Cape. And when the robbers managed to bring the armored vehicle to a standstill, they then accessed the cash through using the explosives. Then on this slide, we looked at the kidnapping circumstances and causative factors. From the sample size of 4,254, we found that in 214 of the incidents, there was a ransom demanded, and most of these, that is 144, was had taken place in the province of Gauteng. The second province with the highest number of ransom-related kidnappings was KZN with 31, and the Eastern Cape at number 3 with 13. 41 of the kidnapping were extortion-related. Most of these were in the province of Gauteng, 20 to be specific, and then the second highest was Limpopo with 5, and the third spot is shared by Northwest and KZN with 4 counts each. 13 counts of kidnapping were human trafficking related, and we had 3 provinces which 3 counts each, that is Gauteng, Limpopo, and Mpumalanga, which attributed the kidnapping to be human trafficking related. Then, Chairperson, that is the last of my slide, and then again, the presentation is made available. The 60 slides that we distributed is actually a shorter version. The full version of the presentation, which is around 120 or so slides, is also available on the SAPS website. You can access it via the QR code or via the link. And that is the last of my slide, Chairperson and members of the Portfolio Committee. I thank you.
Thank you very much, General Sekukune, for the presentation and for the detail. And as always, yeah, thank you for that. I'm immediately going to move to the discussion. It is now just before 10 o'clock. We do have more than enough time to discuss. When we start, I want to ask the honourable members. Yeah, you're welcome to put up your hands. I see the first hand is already up. It always feels like I'm starting an auction when we put up hands in the committee. I would like to ask that we stick to 5 minutes again. If you have questions, please stick to 3 questions for the beginning. There are going to be more rounds of questions, but it is for us to make sure that everything is answered. And then I want to ask everyone, as I did last week as well, that if a specific question is not answered, please put up your hand again and remind me if I for some reason miss it. you're more than welcome to ask the question again. We need to make sure that every single person's questions are answered. And then I would like us to also just make sure that we stay focused on the agenda and specifically relate to crime statistics or anything related to it. I've already noted the Honourable Kola Barnard, and welcome to you as well, Honourable Kola Barnard, today. I've noted Honourable Mtetwa, I've noted Honourable Klutter, Honourable Reverend Meshwe, Honourable Adams, Honourable Schikkeling, Honourable Mokoena, and Honourable James, and Honourable Ghana. There we go. May I ask Nicolette to just run the timer for us again, please, Nicolette? And then I'm immediately going to hand over to Honourable Kola Barnard.
Thank you, Chair. I won't need 5 minutes. I've listened very carefully to the statistics. I'm very encouraged at the drop in some of the major ones. But what I find is horrendous is the increase, such enormous increases in the levels of rape. Our gender-based violence, we're not winning that war. And, you know, it's fine to sit and have cold clinical statistics read out. But when one extrapolates that to a tsunami of horror for the families of the rape victims, for the victims themselves, of the families whose children have been raped, it is horrendous. And I don't know that social services are stepping up, that our education department's stepping up, all to assist to prevent this and to deal with the aftermath. So it is absolutely enormous. From KZN to hear that in KwaZulu-Natal these attacks have gone up by such an enormous number. It's as though it's almost compulsory for a victim to be raped. It is beyond my comprehension that this is happening in our country, and I would like to know from the SAPS what they're doing about it. What programs do you have to try and prevent this, to point out that this is absolutely unacceptable? And what is your percentage conviction rate in terms of these rapes? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Kola Barnard. I then move to Honourable Mtetwa.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning to you and the committee members, SAPS, DMs. I want to start by saying hashtag I'm not a number. And you will understand why I'm sponsoring this hashtag line, I'm not a number. May I appreciate the decline that has been reported, even though it's just a small margin, but we appreciate the decline. Hashtag I'm not a number. I want to find out what are direct activities that you can attribute to the decline. Just examples of what SAPS has done in some of the categories. What have you done to see this decline? The second question is, considering the zero accounts of bank robberies, what lessons can be given that led to the zero accounts on bank robberies? And does that also include the ATM bombings? Because I didn't see, I don't know whether that is categorized under the maybe the properties, damage to the property. The third one, it is, what is the cause of violent or aggressiveness in your own understanding of perpetrators who are committing crime? Because it seems like this aggressiveness is growing daily. We see horrible, for instance, crimes like rape of little children. I don't know what goes into that man's mind, especially at the daycare. It's sad to even notice such things happening in our country. What could be the cause in your own understanding? I'm asking this question because I know, for instance, as an artist, in our sector, people will take drugs in order to go on stage and be something else, detach themselves from their actual character or personalities. But what is the major cause for people to then become this violent in your own understanding? Thanks. I'll ask other questions later, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Tetra. I then go to Honorable Kluter.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Chairperson, I request that my camera must remain off because my network is back on the current location and I'm attending the meeting on my phone. But firstly, allow me to welcome the presentation that was presented by the South African Police Service. Mine is just 1, 2, 3 questions on firearms control. What I wanted to know, Honorable Chair, has the National Firearms Register been reviewed or modernized to improve its reliability and enforcement capability? The second question, Honorable Chairperson, is what progress has the South African Police Service made in recovering illegal firearms, and how does this compare with the previous quarters? The last question, Honorable Chairperson, is we note and welcome the steps to limit the flow of illicit firearms. How far is the department with the consideration of dignity firearm license, and how will this step manage the control of the firearms? And I thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Kluter. I then move to Honorable Reverend Meshwe.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning to the Commissioner and all the generals and everybody on the platform. Good morning, members. Thank you for the opportunity, sir. Maybe I should also start by commending the police for the low murder rate. Whatever good thing they have been doing, they have to keep on with that so that we keep the murder numbers very low. The issue of rape, obviously, is a major concern. When my colleagues want to know what could be causing rapes not to be reduced but to increase, it's a valid question that we are all interested in knowing. Why are South African men prone to rape as it is happening now? It's very, very disappointing, particularly when children are being raped also. Now, the fact that there are increases in the stats, are there also increases in conviction rates? Because we are concerned that you see the number of rapes increasing, but the conviction rates are remaining low. Is 10% going to be with us for some time to come of conviction rates? Because it is very worrying that we don't seem to be able to break that ceiling of 10%. The police having frequent meetings with the Justice Department, with the magistrates, because sometimes you know that the police do their best. Even the investigations become almost satisfactory, but when they go to court, the rapists get very low sentences. And when a rapist gets a sentence of 80 years, I mean, for rape, I mean, that does not bring fear in the hearts of those who also want to rape. Is there any interaction with the justice cluster, particularly the magistrate, and appeal to them to increase the sentences when there is rape? Rapists have to, or potential rapists have to be taught that rape in South Africa will not be tolerated. So is there any interaction between judges, magistrates, and the Chief Justice maybe to complain and say, what more should we do? why would people be given less than 10% for rape? Because rape is a major concern. And on ransom, we see that about there were 214 incidences where ransom was demanded. Of that 214, how many payments were made? And how many arrests were made? And then regarding extortion, in which area is extortion the highest? Is it in the building construction? And the people who are making these extortions, making demands for money for people they've kidnapped, how many arrests are being made? And how many convictions the past financial year have we heard of people who have been found guilty for extortion? And that number out of how many extortions that were. So, Chairperson, for now, I'll stop and wait for the next opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Reverend Meshwe. I hand over then to Honorable Adams.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, General, for your presentation. It was very well constructed. I'm not even going to talk about the rape issue. It's scandalous, and as a South African man, it is a pity that South African men cannot do more than what the law allows. That's all I will say. I just have a few things that I just like to point out, Chairperson. One is that it's a good thing that the murder rate has shown a small decline. You know, it's a small decline, but you know, you save one life, you save one family, and we're thankful for that. And thank you to SAPS for that. But in terms of what you're showing us on the graph, and yes, I note that the Eastern Cape is the province with the most amount of murders per capita. But can you show us that there is another area or region with the amount of deaths that is happening on the Cape Flats? Because it doesn't come up in the presentation. Because what's happening over here, it's an engineered thing. Yes, we've inherited apartheid spatial planning. We get all that. But what I'm asking is, in the most crime-ridden area in the country, as far as gang-related deaths are concerned, the police stations are all understaffed. 84% of all the police stations that are understaffed in this country, 84% of them are found on the Cape Flats. So I'd like to know what SAPS is going to do about addressing that. And then furthermore, I'd also just like to point out that hundreds of trainee police officers have received personnel numbers, but they're not in the service. They are at home. So yes, it is good for the stats. Yes, it is good for the media that we've employed X amount of policemen, or we've trained X amount of policemen, but it does not help the suffering community if this policeman is not on the ground. So what I'd like to know is, what are we going to do about remedying that? And what are we going to do about the police stations that are crying out for resources on the Cape Flats where the actual dying is happening? And then just as a send-off, Chairperson, I'd also like to ask this committee, because I've asked the question before and the question was not answered. Why, in terms of the linguistic barrier, especially on the Cape Flats, do we have policemen who cannot speak Afrikaans in Afrikaans communities? Because I can tell you off the bat that if you ask me right now, Fadil, are you equipped to go and work in Kailicha? I'll tell you off the bat, no, Chief, I'm not. I might be able to investigate well, but my communication skills are going to be a problem. So why is this logic not being applied in the area that needs it most? Let me put it to you bluntly. That was the political question. Here's the activist question. Why is it hard to find a colored policeman in a previously colored suburb? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Adams. I must emphasize to you in agreement, just this past weekend again, it was shocking to see the numbers from the Cape Flats. I think in total, what I've been able to verify was just between 26, 25 and 30. So let's say just under 30 gang-related murders in a space of more or less 48 hours. So I must emphasize that.
Chairperson?
And yes, Honorable Adams.
Chairperson, if I may, you actually just reminded me of something, and I do have a minute, and I'm sorry for let me apologize
Go
to my
for it. No, go for it.
We
You've
must
got a
also
minute.
be cognizant of the fact that this decline in the death rate, it is dependent on so many moving parts. One gang leader gets released from jail today, it's likely to spike. We must put all our cards on the table. And I'm not saying that SAPS is claiming an easy victory. I'm not saying that in the least. But what I'm saying is that there are so many moving parts relating to gang violence on the Cape Flats that if this thing flares up tomorrow, we could just have our worst quarter ever. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Adams. Honorable Schikkerling.
Thank you, Chairperson. My apologies for leaving my camera off. My signal is very bad where I am. Chair, as usual, I am really concerned about the GBV and rape figures in our country. It is really completely out of hand. It feels to me like it is a war that we're trying to fight that we're never going to get an end to. I'm really concerned about the fact that there are still police officers that are raping women in cells and next to the side of roads. And I mean, Chair, there are personnel, police officers in the Western Cape that have been involved in rape that are still working in police stations and that are out on bail that are working, and I think that is completely unacceptable. I don't think it's the right message that we're sending through to the community. Chairperson, I think we need to take a very hard stance against police officers that are involved in crime daily and get rid of them out of the system. Question also to the SAPS is in 2021, Cape Town seized over 1,600 illegal firearms. 25% of those cases have led to convictions, Chair. That's incredibly low. And I'd like to know why our conviction rate is so low, because it seems to me that it is a problem in the country, not just with firearms, but with rape and murder too, Chair. There is a massive problem, I think, especially GBV and murder has increased in the Northern Cape, and I want to attribute that to the fact that some substance abuse, drug and alcohol is very much out of hand in the Northern Cape, and I think it's something that in collaboration with social services and basic education must be taken up as a matter of urgency, because the children are also dropping out of school and they're the ones that are involved in contact crime and getting involved in GBV. I would like to know what the SAPS is going to do to address that, Chair, and then what proportion of the arrests are leading to successful prosecutions? Because and are the SAPS tracking it, and how are they tracking it? Because more often than not, when you speak to community members or to police members, they keep arresting the same people, and a week later they're out again on bail, or there hasn't been proper investigation into the case, and the criminals walking our streets. And I really think we're wasting our resources if we keep rearresting the same people over and over again. Chair, my last question then is, what are the consequences or remedial actions that are being applied to where there are repeat underperformance in police stations, and what discussions are being held with those members of the police and then the police commissioners? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Schikkerling. Before I hand over to Honorable Mokoena, I just quickly want to just add one or two things as reference for the discussion with SAPS afterwards with regards to members that are still working while they are awaiting trial or out on bail for things. There's a specific member that I can confirm, a specific constable that is currently out on bail for rape that is still working at SAPS in Kuils River. There is a specific lieutenant colonel that is currently out on bail for attempted murder and for torture, who is currently the acting station commander at Steenberg in Cape Town. There is a warrant officer from Lentegeur in the Cape Flats that was previously caught selling dockets. He is back at work. He was also recently caught for drunk driving in Strandfontein. And then there's another one that was involved with who's a court ordinance of SAPS from Ballar SAPS, who's also back at work, that was involved with smuggling drugs. So there's quite a long list. So I would like us to refer back to that when we are in the discussion. Maybe after the general feedback of the questions to the team from SAPS, we should maybe zoom into some of those specific matters. Sorry, Honourable Schikkerling, I just wanted to add that because I believe, I know that one of the members you referred to is one of the ones I've just listed. I see the hand of Honourable James is up. Honourable James, you're welcome.
Good morning to the honourable members on the platform, the National Commissioner, as well as the Minister. Chair, my questions pertains to the following. I want to ask, I see that there's a hike in drug-related arrests, especially on the Western Cape. When I looked at the Western Cape stats, 23,000, if my memory serves me well, 23,000 drug-related arrests. Now, in my mind, who are we arresting? Are we arresting the user or are we arresting the dealer? I want to ask what percentage of these arrests has been referred for diversion, so that we don't have these cases coming back on and being on the court roll. That's the one thing. I've also listened to the stats in terms of rape and crime that is unfolding at your liquor outlets in communities. Now, as we know, every station is meant to have a liquor officer. I want to ask, in these communities where you find the same outlets having sort of crime unfolding there, what programs is that liquor officer running in that community? I also know that when it comes to the application of liquor licenses, the liquor officer is meant to engage with the community and empower the community in terms of that they actually have a period in which to object to these outlets opening in their communities. I want to know if that has been done in all of the communities. I think someone's mic is on.
Sorry, Honourable James. Honourable Mokoena, there we go, muted. Thank you, Honourable James.
I'm going to repeat that. Thank you. I'm going to repeat that question. How active are your liquor officers, if I can ask this, in communities where liquor outlets seem to be contributing to the crime? I'm asking this because I find that in most cases, the liquor officers are not empowering the communities on their platforms that they can have a say in terms of not granting permission for these outlets to open in the communities. That's the other thing. I also want to say that, sir, now, when I'm going to speak about the gang-related crime unfolding in our communities, I have said, Chair, I have visited, I think, close to 20 police stations, mainly in the Western Cape. The police stations that remains part of the top 10, not only in the province, but nationally, has been there for decades. In the last meeting, I remember asking the minister, what is the plan and what is the strategy pertaining to gang violence? He then reassured us that he will be having a meeting with the Western Cape Commissioner to sort of come up with a plan. I want to know, has that plan been sort of tabled and how far that plan is? I can tell you why we have repeat offenders, and I can tell you why we have a low conviction rate. This week, I think I visited Delft and I visited Lentegeur. It is shocking to hear, National Commissioner, that you have 30 detectives and out of the 30, they only have 4 cell phones. How effectively are we going to investigate crime when you have to have roaming cell phones? Let's start there. When I contacted the Western Cape Commissioner, he said to me, the community is meant to call the station in order to get hold of a detective. I don't think that can happen. When you look at the general feel and and infrastructure of these police stations, no wonder the many men in blue, their morale is extremely low. We cannot expect them to fight crime in these areas effectively when they have a broken fleet, when they don't have enough vehicles? Delft ranks #1, and then you hear things such as Delft only has one vehicle operating in the sector. That is having, and I've been saying this all week, that is having a conventional approach for unconventional crime in these areas. If anything, these police stations should have enough resources. Chair, I'm going to leave it at that for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable James. I then go to Honourable Garner.
Chair.
Good morning, Garner, Chair. You're welcome. There we go. Sorry, Honourable Garner. I just want to ask all the honourable members, once you've spoken, to just lower your hand, please. Honourable Garner, please continue.
Chairperson, Chair.
Yes,
Chairperson.
Honourable Mokoena.
Yes, you have omitted me.
I'm sorry. Sorry, your hand was lowered a bit earlier. Sorry, Honourable Garner. Would you mind if Honourable Mokoena goes ahead of you?
Not at all, Chair. Not at all.
Thank you, Honourable Garner. Honourable Mokoena, you're welcome to go.
Thank you very much, Chair. My question is on GBV and sexual assault. Given that the number of sexual offences remain largely unchanged, what are the key barriers identified by SAPS in reducing these crimes? Number two, how is SAPS addressing case backlogs in family violence, child protection, and sexual offences units? What is the current state of interdepartmental coordination, for example, with social development and health, in supporting victims and preventing secondary victimization? I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Mokoena. Honourable Garner.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much to General Skukun and General Masimola and the DM. So, Chair, let me start by saying I accept that there's a particular way of delivering statistics that's internationally approved and so forth. So General Skukun did share that they present the statistics in the way that conforms with international standards. So I accept that. The nature of crime that we have in South Africa far exceeds the international norms. And that's what we need to be looking at. It's to give a lot more than what we are giving when we release the stats. It does feel, Chair, and I've said this before, and I'll continue saying it until there's a change. It's just not enough. It's basically we are working with a coin that has got one side. And the one side that is being presented, it's insofar as the reported cases and so forth. It does not give comfort to the South Africans that the police are working. The work of the police must not only be done, it must be seen to be done. And when there is such a focus on crime statistics, and what we then talk about, it's the number of reported cases. While we appreciate and welcome General Mathumula, I don't want to say that I don't recognize that there's a drop in the murder rate and so forth, or the number of people that have been killed. I do see that. But what South Africans and honorable members on this call say, but there are certain questions that you should not wait for this meeting to be asked, because they've been asked from so many meetings that we've been coming to. The questions around the detection rate for murder, the detection rate for rape, because South Africans want to know that if someone has killed a person, how long does it take for that person to be investigated, arrested, and the case is ready for prosecution? So in the same way that I made the point, Chair, when we're talking about correctional service, that correctional service is at the tail end of the justice and crime prevention cluster. The police are at the entry point. So they are not in control of the entire value chain or the chain from the time that a person is arrested, convicted, and then sentenced, and then maybe get paroled and so forth. They are not in control of the entire thing. But what South Africans want to see is that for the portion that the police are responsible for, they are doing it well. And I have to say, Chair, the financial year has ended. Whilst we are discussing the fourth quarter, is the last quarter of the year, and the numbers do indicate that we've had over 25,000 South Africans that have been murdered, over 52,000 cases of rape that have been reported in a financial year. That's what we had. But what given this opportunity, anticipating the kind of questions that we keep on asking around the arrests, the cases that gets finalized, the issues around those that get convicted and so forth, one would have thought that in preparation for this kind of a session, and also when the statistics are given, we give the full picture, because what is presented is but one side of the coin. It does not talk to the performance of the police. And I think it's an opportunity missed, because, Chair, there has to be comfort from South Africans that they are being kept safe. That is, those that are committing crime, they will be arrested, they will be properly investigated and convicted. And the last point, and I realize that my time is up, Chair. The last point, this message, these crime statistics, they don't instill fear in the minds and the hearts of criminals. That if you do crime, you'll be caught, you'll be arrested, you'll be sentenced. So that's what's missing, is that it does not give comfort to South Africans who are law-abiding. Also, it does not instill fear on the criminals. It's like people now, they do these crimes because they believe they will not be caught. And even if when they are caught, they will not go through the court processes. And that is the biggest challenge that is facing the police. And I would like to hear a response from the general. How do we close that gap? How do we ensure that when we have these opportunities, they are used to instill fear on those that want to commit crime, but give hope to law-abiding citizens that they are being protected by the police? I will pause here, Chair. If there's an opportunity, I'll come and complete my thoughts in the next round. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Ghana. Honourable Taibosh.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, honourable members. Good morning, Deputy Ministers and the senior staff of the SAPS. Chair, firstly, I would like to say to SAPS, well done on dropping the figures, especially on the murder figures. However, seeing that amount of figures, there's something that worries me, particularly on the I would like to know, Chair, if it's possible, and this is a request to SAPS, of the amount of murders that took place, all right, in the last in this period that we were monitoring, how many are gang related? I'm sure they'll be able to give us that figure. Because, Chair, I mean, you mentioned earlier on that this weekend was about 26 or more. I went a bit further and I included the Eastern Cape. I also included Johannesburg, where in Westbury and Coronationville and in El Dorado Park, there were shootings as well. And my figure goes to above 40. Now, if that's the amount of people that we're going to lose on a weekly basis, then it's not on, Chair, because we've been, we've got this, I don't know what they call it, the AGU, the Anti-Gangsterism Unit, but I am yet to see anything on paper that can give me comfort to say that these guys really know what they're doing, and with this plan, if they have a plan, with this plan, they will be able to curb gangsterism. So I just like to single out the gang shootings for me on that, because things, particularly in the Eastern Cape, are escalating and they're getting very bad there. Then the other figure that I'd like also singled out is the figures on women and children on murder. I also would like to see that, because that doesn't seem to go down. Yes, the figure of murder, the murder rate has gone down, but violence on women and children doesn't seem to go down. I would like us to be specific about these figures, because those are things that, that's very close to the heart, and it's crime happening if we are real men. Then, Chair, the issue of rape, for instance, rape in prison cells, that doesn't give much comfort. It may even makes one scared to be locked up for anything, because you're not sure if you're going to come out again the man that you were before you went in there. How does rape occur in prisons? Yes, I know in prison cells, but in holding cells is something else. There's supposed to be somebody on guard all the time, or something like that. I don't know. Or do you just get left to your own devices in with amongst of a bunch of criminals, even though you were locked up, you're in a holding cell, you maybe locked up for a traffic fine or something, and they put you all in the same holding cells, and you're not sure whether you're going to come out that same macho man that you were before you went in. And then my third question, Chair, is still on rape. Rape in educational institutions is 80. That is a hell of a lot. I have a teenage daughter that goes to school every day. And when I see this, then I shudder, because is she safe out there? Am I, am I entrusting the safety of my child to this school, and not knowing what is lurking amongst the teachers and the students? I would, in that case, I'd much rather homeschool her and make sure she's safe. It's sad that there needs to be something done, something serious, Chair. Thanks. Then also, Chair, a burning point is that there are policemen or SAPS members that are guilty of crimes, out on bail, whatever, and that are still operating in their normal jobs as if nothing is wrong. There, we need to seriously get a stop to that. I thank you.
Thank you. Perfect timing, Honourable Taibosh. I then hand over to General Masemola to facilitate the feedback. General Masemola.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. With regard to the first question on the progress with regard to the conviction rate on rape, Honourable Chairperson. For the quarter for January to March 2025, yes, we agree gender-based violence is indeed a scourge in the country, and we are indeed fighting it with all directorates within the police, including our FCS units, which they are responsible for the investigation of this specific crime. Through our FCS units, Honorable Chair, for the period, we had 5,871 suspects who were perpetrators of GBV-related crime were arrested during the quarter. Not necessarily that they might have committed that crime during the period. Some might have committed before, but they were arrested during this period. And a total of 703 accused persons were convicted and sentenced to time in prison related to GBV. 93 of these people were sentenced to 133 life sentences at the various courts in the country. 95 of them were convicted for 20 and more years in prison, while 174 of them were convicted between 10 and 19 years in prison. And lastly, 341 of them were convicted for a period between 1 and 9 years in prison. That is, those sentences, all the sentences happened between January and March 31st, 2025. However, it doesn't mean those crimes were committed during that time. We know that it takes cases at court, Honorable Chair, takes quite a while. Various reasons. Yes, some reasons might be on us as the police, but some might be on the judiciary side. Just to give you an example, we had a case of a GBV in a Vemba area, which happened some years ago. I don't have the details. I can get it for you later. While the victim was 6 years old. This year, the victim was 18 years old. The case was finalized, investigated long ago, and but the case has been postponed all the years until now, when the case was, when the victim was 18 years old, and when we organized that, myself and the minister and the deputy ministers, we are going to go to Toronto to attend the court on that specific day. It just so happened that before we go on that day, the case was then finalized and the person was then sentenced to a jail term. But the person was still young when he committed crime by then, but now he's an old man. But at least he was sentenced. That's how long some of these cases do take. On the question of what led to the reduction in bank robberies, of course, the banks, they do have, they employed some security measures, of course, and of course, the last bank robberies we experienced were only in the Western Cape about 2 or 3 years ago. The rest of the country, we really did not encounter. If ever there was one incident, but a number of them were in the Western Cape, and all those robberies were aided by some tellers in the bank, and they were arrested, and we have seen a reduction since that has happened. The probable cause of violent, why people are violent, Honorable Chair, that we haven't researched that, we don't know, but yeah, generally some of the community members in South Africa, yes, they are violent, especially one of the propelling agent is the use of alcohol. We see quite often that people might have grudges while they are sober, but they will then live with that. But once they go, they'll go the same group as friends to go and drink. And once they have used liquor, they start now reflecting back on the grudges and a fight ensued and somebody will end up being killed out of that. So by that I mean most people kill one another is people that know each other, either in liquor taverns or at home or GBV related. But why they are so violent, of course, it is the society that we are living in, and there's quite a number of factors. Some are social, some, of course, are crime related. On the modernization of firearm register, Honorable Chair, you should be aware that we have a solution that was being worked on with a view to modernize the firearm application system where people will apply online. I know that one of the phases was supposed to be completed in March this year. However, there was a delay between TMS and CEDA. It will still be finalized this year, and the process will then totally be a paperless process. General Msikiri will answer on the number of firearms we recovered for the quarter. Honorable Mesho, why South African men are prone to rape? That's a difficult one. And unfortunately, yes, it is like that. They are prone to rape, and of course, also we need to also advise our young girls and ladies that we should also be alert that we don't fall trap of this sketch of people that are dating online and end up, servicing those appointments that are online, which some of them end up with people go missing. We can't trace them. Some end up being killed, like the recent one in Johannesburg of Olerato Mungale, which she went and met somebody that they were dating online. And within an hour or so, her body was recovered. So that's how fast it happened. So we want our communities not to take it lightly. One of the things that communities should do, which I told our marketing communication to do, is that before you go into a vehicle, take a photo, a photo of the registration plate of the vehicle, and also most of the vehicles on the dashboard, right on the dashboard on the left and bottom corner, where normally the passenger will go in if you are being given a lift. There is a FIN number there. You don't have to ask permission from the driver. Take a photo of that FIN number and immediately send to a relative. Even if it's an Uber, send that to a relative so that if for some reason you go missing, if the number plate was fake or false, the FIN number will definitely not be false. But if the FIN number is covered with a sellotape or whatever, don't climb into that car. Even if it's your friend, whatever, don't go into that car, because it means there will be problems somewhere along the way. Or if there is no FIN number in that place, don't go into that car. It's just one of the awareness that we want to make to the public. With regard to the question of which type of extortion is the most, General Sibia will talk more on that, but it is mostly your business extortion. That is formal and informal business. That is where we have seen a spike in extortion. On the construction, it is there, but it is lower than in formal and informal business. But General Sibia will talk more on that. With regard to crime-ridden gang areas in the Cape Flats, Honorable Adams, we still continue with the implementation of our Operation Channel at 2 countrywide, including the Cape Flats. and we are aware that there are wins and losses in the same area of Cape Flats. Hence, I directed the provincial commissioner, we were there with the minister, that we need to come up with a new plan in terms of how we're going to deal with what we are doing in the Cape Flats. We have registered commendable success in the last recent days, Honorable Chair, where we had more than 10 takedowns of some gang leaders and gang members, you know, not long ago. But yes, as Honorable Adam says, if you arrest one, there is eruption as to who must be the next leader. And if one is released, be it on parole or whatever, it also ignites more violence. And unfortunately, we also busy with the correctional services because some of it is generated from the prison. But we are going to involve more members now in terms of fighting gang violence in the next coming days in the Western Cape. We're not going to inject with members from other provinces, but we're going to use resources of Cape Town just in a different way so that we fight those specific crimes. The 5% conviction rate on firearm license, on firearm crimes, Honorable Schickling, Honorable Chair and members, we are aware some of it is will be that maybe they are waiting for a ballistic report, which might be few, but some of them is just that there is too many cases that goes through courts that has to be processed. One example I can give, there was a case in Hillbrow for possession of a firearm which lasted for 11 years. Ballistic reports, witnesses, everything was there, but the case has been just postponed over 11 years and not finalized, which it was not on our side. Our side, we have done everything that needs to be done, but it kept on being postponed, so much so that we even thought and said that the postponement might lead up to either one of the witnesses dying or the suspect dying because the suspect was on bail. But we will, I directed General Sibia that we look at all these cases and prioritize them and take them up with various cause as to, so that we can find these people to be prosecuted and finalized, so that we can know that they are no more out there on outside, even though some of them, they normally get a sentence of a fine. On the matter of consequence management of poor performing stations, Honorable Chairperson, consequence management we do implement where the stations are not implementing. Sometimes what complicates it is the fact that either they don't have enough personnel, or maybe in some areas you find that you can't go too hard because either most of the vehicles were in the garage, which we also experienced early this year that most of our vehicles were in the garage, and General Fani and the rest of the supply chain team are working on it with a view that we can repair most of our cars and make most of these auxiliary garages permanent garages, and open other garages. Like we will be opening one for Fore because of there is too many vehicles for Maitland Garage in the Western Cape. And we will be this year making most of the auxiliary garages. I can't count all of them, but it's quite a lot countrywide. Making them permanent, have mechanics there, and so that the turnaround time for vehicles will be much quicker in the garages. Honorable Chairperson, on members that are on bail and still working, I will ask General Particular to answer those specific questions. But yes, quite often it happens that departmental case lasts longer than the 90 days, as you are aware that in terms of regulations, suspension can only take 90 days. And then it does happen then that if the departmental case is not finalized, such a member do come back to work, but normally we don't place that member at the same place where he was working. We put him at a different place. So I don't know the specifics, but General Pategile will talk on those cases, Honorable Chair. General Msigidi will talk on the matters of Honorable James. The strategy on game violence, Honorable James, the new one is the one that I've just mentioned now, that we are going to put resources together from the province of Western Cape to deal with game violence just in a different way. I might not say all the details, but we are going to enhance the anti-gang unit with some extra capacity by using some members from the province of the Western Cape to deal with the gang violence in the province. Addressing backlog in FCS. Well, we do not have backlog in FCS. Actually, we capacitated them with over 300 personnel the last financial year. And currently, out of the 4,000 plus that is been recruited, FCS is also going to get a figure. Maybe General Sibiya can talk more on the exact figure of how many people who are recruiting for the FCS units in the country. But also maybe to talk about the personnel in Cape Flats, which General Particular will also allude to that, Honorable Chairperson. About 2-3 years ago, we have moved personnel from police stations that one can classify them as previously suburb police stations. We moved them to a police station in the Cape Flats, a number of them. I know one of the beneficiary police stations to this was Makasa Police Station. It benefited from members that we transferred them above Sea Point, above Claremont Police Station, and so on. So we did try and make sure that we increase the numbers in Cape Flats, and also the allocation that was given to Western Cape in the past 5 years equals 5,020. That we know that every year we have been giving Western Cape more numbers than the rest of the country for them to have enough personnel. Hence now, as I was saying, that we would want to try and reorganize and use resources of Western Cape itself to fight the crime and make sure that their resources, the tools of trade, are working and are there to be used. General Sibiya will talk on the detection rate, Honorable Gunners. And yes, in terms of detection, because it's more about people that we trace and arrest for the crimes that they commit. But however, we have to take note that they still, the process of prosecution takes time. Cases don't go in today and tomorrow there is a sentence. They take quite a while before people can be sentenced. Murder rate of the murder in women and children, Honorable Daibosh, yes, we acknowledge. We'll work it out and bring those figures clear at a later stage. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I'll ask first General Msigidi, followed by General Sibiya, and the other members of the police that are on the platform. The third will be general particular, in that order. Thanks, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, General. Over to the team.
Good morning, Honorable Chair and Honorable members on the call, to the Deputy Ministers, the National Commissioner of the South African Police Service. Protocol is observed. Chairperson, I've been requested to comment on the number of firearms that have been recovered in the quota under review. We have a total of 3,011 handguns, 105 homemade guns, 131 rifles, and 104 shotguns. I thought it is important to elaborate on the types of firearms so that we can get the sense of these recoveries and the impact this type of firearms are having. And we have targets for various operations, including Valumkoti, because we know majority of the rifles are being used, or a weapon of choice there. The cash in transit heist, hence, Chairperson, when we give these targets to ourselves, we want to look at those various types. Of this total, Chair, 24,288 various types of ammunitions have also been recovered. On the next question that I've been requested to comment on, or directed to comment on, is on the drug-related arrest, Chair. Similarly, as per the firearms on the drugs, Chairperson, we have a total of on various types of drugs. I have not added them together. I have the report here with me. For an example, those that are dangerous drugs, perhaps one can start with the cocaine, 16,000 arrests. On the crack cocaine, 6,100. On tech or crystal meth, 722,000. And on heroin, on all types, 11,269. The further question on the drugs was to check if these arrested persons or arrested drugs were referred to forensic or ballistic. Yes, Chairperson, at all times, all arrests that we do on drugs, it is a standard procedure and practice that they need to be referred, and the ballistic report accompanies the docket that goes to court so that it can form part of the evidence that is presented, as well as the order of the court to be able to give a relevant sentence. On the issues of the liquor officers, that their day-to-day running and the work that they are doing with communities, I think the same issues relate to our operational directives. From time to time, when the operational plan are drawn on a day-to-day basis, they look at the intelligence and refer members as such. However, I need to reiterate on the fact that we have the obligation and responsibility to also conduct the awareness from this environment and this area, and that is done by the liquor officers. Included on the responsibilities of the liquor officers, it's that they process the application And when they do that, they do make recommendation. I think I'm responding to the further question of what contribution do they make on the issuance of the license. They do make recommendation, and where the area of the application does not permit the objection, it's then drawn and be submitted. The committee, I need to reiterate on the fact that it differs from area to area in terms of the liquor laws of the various provinces. As we know, that each province has its own liquor board. So the submission that we do to the liquor board in terms of what the liquor board of that particular province requires as a dangerous zone or the acceptable zone, then it does follow that procedure. We do from time to time have problems of the issued liquor licenses, but we can only motivate, we can only object. Then the decision is taken by the board itself whether to give the liquor license or not. We also go back where there are problematic areas and conduct spot checks, including doing the rounds to discredit and submit such a motivation to discredit so that the license can be scrapped. But that also follows the process of the liquor board that will decide. Chairperson, I submit.
May I proceed, Chairperson?
You're welcome to proceed, General Sabia.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning to all the members and deputy ministers and all colleagues present in the platform. To start with, let me start with our extortion. And I'm going to take both the period of since 2020 to 2025 and for the financial year. Now, for the past 5 years, 7,834 incidents were reported that led to the opening of case dockets, and 3,243 people were arrested. Of these 7,834 cases, 3,185 have been finalized through non-prosecution, 466 were withdrawn in court, and 185 were withdrawn before court by the complainant. 2,534 were closed as undetected or unfounded, of which 2,922 cases are pending investigation to enable decisions to be made regarding the viability of the prosecution of these cases. 80 cases have been finalized as guilt, and 21 cases are as not guilt. 1,626 cases are on the court roll. Now, from the period of October 2025, October to March 2025, which is a 6-month period. From 15 October 2024 to 25 March 2025, only 1,046 extortion cases were reported with 341 arrests made across the country. Gauteng remains the highest contributor with 343 cases reported with 112 arrests made. 61 of these cases are extortion cases, whilst 282 are extortion related. In the Western Cape, is still the second highest, with 270 reported cases with 98 arrests, 22 extortion cases with 248 extortion related cases. And in KwaZulu-Natal, following with 141 cases, 16 arrests, 34 cases are extortion, whilst the remaining 117 cases are extortion related. And in the Eastern Cape recorded 126 cases with 17 arrests, and 23 of these are extortion and 103 are extortion related. Now, Chairperson, in terms of the strengthening in the fight against extortion, we have the national hotline that was established on the 28th of August 2025, and provincial hotlines that were also launched in the Eastern Cape and Western Cape. Each province has appointed coordinators to facilitate the extortion cases reported from the national hotline. Now, I'm going to go into the hotlines. Now, the South African Police Service developed a hotline toll-free number due to the increase in complaints. Now, when you look at national, we recorded 39 complaints with 9 cases registered and 5 inquiries registered and 14 arrests effected for the period under review. Now, in the Eastern Cape alone, 657 calls were received via the hotline and 104 cases were registered, 11 inquiries registered and 32 arrests effected for the period under review. In the Western Cape, 39 calls were received, 2 cases were registered, 3 arrests were effected. And in relation to the rates, the detection rate is 60.03%, of which our target, in fact, is 58.31%, which means we have achieved the targets on this one. And the conviction rate, the target was 74.01%, and we managed to convict 74.70%. We also achieved the targets on this one. And this is for the fourth quarter alone. We arrested 3,134. In relation to GBV, it is very much important that we continue to prioritize GBV and femicide related. Through our Family Violence, Child Protection and Sexual Investigation FCS unit, we managed 5,871 suspects who were perpetrators of GBV were arrested. A total of 703 accused persons were convicted and sentenced to a term prison for GBV-related crime. 93 of the accused persons were handed down a combined 133 life sentences by various courts. 95 GBVF perpetrators were convicted to 20 years and more years in prison, whilst 174 GBVF perpetrators were convicted to between 10 and 19 years imprisonment. And lastly, 341 GBVF perpetrators were convicted to between 1 to 9 years imprisonment. The total conviction is as follows. We've got a total of 2,843 accused who were convicted to time in prison for various crimes ranging from murder to rape. A breakdown as follows: 182 accused were handed down life sentences. 21 accused were handed down 40 years and more in prison. 22 accused were handed down 30 to 39 years in prison sentence. 229 accused were handed down 20 to 29 years imprisonment sentence, and 963 accused were handed down to 10 to 19 years imprisonment sentence, and 1,426 accused were handed down 5 to 9 years imprisonment. Now, in relation to the capacitation of FCS units, the first intake, we were allocated 1,719 members, and the second intake was 1,375, and the re-enlistment is 200, and those that will be transferred laterals, it will be 1,000. These numbers includes both normal and specialized units. That's how far I go. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, General Sabia. General Masemola.
Thanks, Honorable Chair. General Pategile.
Thank you, General. Thank you. Good morning, good day, Honorable Chair and the members, the Honorable Deputy Ministers, National Commission and Deputy National Commission and Provincial Commissioners in the meeting. I will start first, Honorable Chair, with the one of the why are we not posting people that are posting people in the current area that are speaking only cannot speak Afrikaans. Our requirement for employment, in the first place, the 2 languages, one of those must be English. Either of the 10 languages, one of those which is compulsory is English. And if I could put the same question in the areas like Khayelitsha and Nyanga, where there are people who cannot speak Xhosa. That is a predicament that what we've said is that for every shift, there must be people who speak the language. If this member cannot understand Afrikaans, and there's one that is speaking Afrikaans, they were pairing together. Everybody has been asked to apply for police, to join the police, irrespective of color or creed. But unfortunately, then we find ourselves with the situation like that. But the same question happened as asked by Nyanga, is asked by Kalicha, why are we sending people who cannot speak Xhosa? But the reality is that we need members there to work, because all these areas, there is not even one area in Cape Town that where you find only Xhosa speaking, or in Mitchell Spain, only African speaking people. You'll find that there are also people staying there who cannot speak English, cannot speak Afrikaans at all. So we've catered for that in the situation. We must just manage our diverse language diversity in our areas where we work. But on our part, if we find that there is a shortage, and so we've given instruction that each and every station, there must be people speaking that language. And if one cannot understand it, and the other one can assist and assist in that situation. Coming to the second one of the conviction rate on firearms. Chair, I think this one we need to, from where I'm sitting, I don't know where this 3% conviction rate on firearms come from. I will read you our conviction rate on illegal possession of firearms. 2021-2022, we're at 87.64%. 2022-2023, we're at 85.43%. 2023-24, we have 89.47% conviction rate. Now, 2024-25, we're at 86.61%. But if one takes, for example, if Patekile is arrested, has recovered 20 firearms, illegal firearms, and then of the 20 that I recovered, I only managed to secure convictions on 7. There are a number of issues that the court looks at. And in those, many of the people that are testifying in court, they could not prove the case in court. So there's a number of issues, starting from where the firearms were found within the vicinity and all that is taken into account. What what we need to do now with ourselves and the city of Cape Town, we've embarked on a statement taking, but now perhaps we need to look at how best do we go into court procedures and testifying in court. We are gonna get there. But the only thing that we are sure of those firearms are out of the street. But it may be that some firearms were in the vicinity where the person was, well, there were people, and that it cannot be linked with them on that one. Yes, there is also there's been an issue about the ballistic results, which we attended to many of those. That's why we got these convictions. Coming Chair, to the specific members, I humbly request that the members that have been given, because we have to go to drill into each and every one of them and find out what is happening. But I can tell you the one of the acting session commissioner of commander of Steenberg. In fact, the disciplinary processes were finalized. That was on duty in somewhere in Modibwe that they were doing an operation there. So the court case is still on. We would, in any event, if it's found guilty, then we will look into that. But at this stage, disciplinary procedures here was cleared, and that is why then he is now at that stage doing a wonderful job. But anyway, in that station, I don't know then if I didn't answer other questions regarding the issue of the cell phones of the detectives. Yes, we acknowledge that there isn't all the detectives have cell phones, but the group commanders have cell phones. And we as we proceed in terms of the budget and all that, if that is a feeling that every detective must have a cell phone, National Commissioner, I think it is called to assess. But as we stand now, we're trying to look at utilizing what we have in a very best possible way to ensure that our communities are getting the service. Regarding, I think, Chair, I will stop there. I've dealt with all the other things that were asked. And as far as operations are concerned, the National Committee has indicated what we're going to be saying, but we cannot be saying much with the beginning of June on as far as the response to the gang violence in the Cape Flats. Thank you, Chair. I don't know if there is a question that I didn't answer, Chair.
No, thank you, General Patekile. If there is something, we certainly will. Thank you for your response, and also too on the relevant members that we've mentioned. General Masemola.
Yeah, thanks, Honorable Chair. General Skukuni will just answer on one response. General Skukuni.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The question that I'm going to respond to was the one that was asked by Honorable Mtecha with regard to the ATM bombings when he was talking about the bank robberies, etc. So the response is that the ATM bombings are included in the subcategory of contact-related crimes, specifically malicious damage to property. And in the current quarter, we have had 39 counts of ATM bombings. And in the previous comparable period, we had 24 counts. That means that we had an increase of 14 counts more when we compare the two periods. And most of these ATM bombings, of the 39, 20 happened at the petrol stations. And in terms of the provinces, the highest ATM bombings are shared between the province of Limpopo and Gauteng, with the 11 counts in each province. Thank you.
Thanks, Honorable Chairperson. Maybe just to qualify on the last matter that I wanted to say. Honorable Chairperson and members, the delay in finalization of departmental cases sometimes is on the side of the employee, which delays the case until the 90 days goes over. And of course, we also acknowledge that, yes, we have a lot of number of officers that preside over these cases. That gives a challenge. In the new structure, we've made provision for trial units, and we are done with the structure. So once it starts getting implemented, this problem will, to an extent, be reduced because we'll have consistent people that do departmental trials that have got the best know-how in terms of how to deal with these matters. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you, General Masemola. Especially for the latter, I think that is going to make a significant difference in the handling of these cases. Colleagues, I'm going to open again for another round. Again, it feels like an auction that begins as the hands go up. So from the honourable members, may I please have hands for us to further engage. I've noted Honourable Kluter, Honourable Mtetwa, Honourable Ghana, Honourable Schikkeling, Honourable Adams, Honourable James. There we go. If, again, as I always say, if you want to put up your hand as we go, please feel free to do so. Before I go to Honourable Kluter, one question that I just have for SAPS after this round of questions is why the significant increase in murder in the Northern Cape? It's just something that stood out. It is significant in terms of percentage as well. So just to zoom in on that a little bit. And then, yeah, I'll ask the other questions later. Honorable Kluter. Honorable Kluter, you're muted. Honorable Kluter, I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to go over to Honorable Mtetwa. Honorable Mtetwa, you're welcome.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to find out, let me comment and maybe suggest that this is how we would like to see these stats reported, what General Sibia has done. Because what has been the trend is that you give us stats from that particular quarter, but you don't give us an update as to how many have you arrested based on the stats that you gave us. What is the progress on those cases? I think that should be standardized in terms of the reporting. Now, on the issue of farm matters, I want to find out how were the employees. I think you reported 2 employees which were murdered. How were they murdered? And the farmer who was murdered, how was he murdered? Just to check what is the trend there. And then also, there are cases, there's a stats report on child pregnancies that was issued. I don't know whether it was Department of Education or not. I want to find out, because that is statutory rape. When such are reported, what would SAPS do? Because I think those are easy cases to handle because there's evidence there. You can actually even do tests from those teachers who have impregnated those children to find out. I mean, you don't need to do much. It is statutory rape. There should be cases. How many cases have been reported in terms of those? And then I want to also to reference to the issue that EFF sponsored a motion for a joint committee on these issues. How far is that? And maybe I should say, has the department considered that to assist in the establishment of that joint committee? What is its position? Maybe DMs would respond to that. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mtetwa.
Sorry, Chair. Sorry,
yes.
Chair. I forgot something because I wanted when there was a report. No, I wanted to find out what gives SAPS the notion that they have done something to reduce murders. Because, for instance, if a serial killer in this area in Gauteng relocates to Mpumalanga, like the guys in the case of Senzo Meyiwa, relocates to another province, there will definitely be a reduction of murder cases because that person is no longer there, but it cannot be attributed to SAPS. That's what I need to find out. What has SAPS done? If they could be able, even if they could write back to us and give us maybe in different categories so that we are able to analyze whether is it attributed to SAPS operations, or is it just a coincidence that murders have dropped because this particular serial killer is dead or he's no longer there? Thanks, Chair.
Honorable Garner.
Thanks very much, Chair. Chair, I think, and Honorable Mtetwa started or continued where I had left off. In that, so one, taking into account the stats that General Masimula, Sibia, and General particularly shared, that information is not available to the public. It's not, so we are almost reducing the opportunity where South Africans are tuned in when the crime stats are being announced to then be able to give a full picture. Because to the point that Honorable Mtetwa raises, these questions insofar as arrest, detection rates, and so forth, they should become standard. And I again appeal, General Massimo, that we are in abnormal times. We can't continue to give stats like it's early 2000s. We are facing some serious information wars. And maybe the lead responsible for communication and public relations ought to answer how we are doing insofar as the information wars are concerned. Because if people are not living in yesterday, I mean, like last month or last quarter, if the information that we give does not give comfort, and I come back to this, and it might very well come, maybe might want to answer the question, when all is said and done, why are you giving the statistics? Because if we don't answer that question properly, why are we announcing the statistics in the manner that we are announcing them? What do we seek to achieve in announcing the statistics in the way that we are announcing them? Because by the both the questions, but the general public feel like no, this thing, it's yes, there's something, but we can't feel it. We can't feel the presence of the police. Maybe take us into your confidence, General, in terms of why are the statistics being presented in the way that they are, omitting some serious information that could lead in both giving hope to the law-abiding citizens, and I'll come back to this issue, hope to the law-abiding citizens, and be able to tell those that are thinking of committing crime that the police are doing what they are supposed to be doing. So while one taking some the Operation Chanela announcements that are being made, I don't think it's enough to be able to win the information battle, both the information and the misinformation. Because one of the things, as you know, and I've said this, that there's just a lot of misinformation insofar as the matters happening in rural communities. It's not supported by facts. So there is crime, but it's not let's say. And I said this, and I'll put it again. You are more likely to die in Philippine death than you are to die in a farm in Litstele. That's the situation that we are in. But I feel like the capacity of the police to then dispel and deal with this misinformation, but also to be able to give comfort to South Africans is lacking. Maybe we need to start getting into how these successes of the police are being communicated and they are being shared. And I feel there's an aspect there, General, that is significantly lacking. Doing something in this day and age is not enough. People must know that you have done something and they must see it in action. And that's one of the reasons that makes General Mkhwanazi as popular as he is. Because it's not only announcements, it's also being seen to be doing what is employed to do. I'll pause here, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Ghana. Honorable Schikkeling.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I have 3 questions. You hijacked my first one, so I'm going to go on to the next.
Please don't charge me.
I won't charge you today, Chair. Chair, I'd just like to know, why does the SAPS open a murder case as an inquest first when victims have been shot? Because I actually know of a specific case that this happened in. If they can please clarify that for me. And then my second question is the forensics fingerprint system and Home Affairs fingerprinting system aligned with each other? Their databases, because that could possibly assist the police with many cases in South Africa. And my third question is, it's very concerning to me when I look at the stats and I see that women really are not safe in their own premises, because most rapes take place in your own home or home of somebody that you know very well, which is concerning. Can the police perhaps indicate to me why this is? Because my thinking of this is that it could possibly that there are cases of GBV that are obviously, we know, not reported, or cases of GBV that are not investigated properly by the police when they are reported, and this could lead to further acts of crime and perhaps GBV and rape. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Schikkeling. Honourable Adams.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Generals. So I just want to contribute just a few things to the meeting in terms of policemen that are out on alleged transgressions, because I see that the Generals are struggling for names. Constable Jacobs, working at Kuils River, is currently out on bail. Lieutenant Colonel Manuel is out for attempted murder and torture. Warrant Officer Sabudin was caught at Lentegee for allegedly selling dockets. He's also caught drunk driving while on a 2-month unpaid suspension. I think it's warrant, don't quote me on the rank, but I think it's Warrant Officer Groenewald is caught smuggling drugs. He's a court ordinance. It was 900 Mandrax tablets. Detective Jaars from Belhar, charged with dealing drugs, also out at work. He's also on bail. I think this committee would probably agree that we need more stringent rules for members caught or with allegations like this hanging around, because if these people are sent out to serve again, there's going to be implications that we really don't want to be involved in. But be that as it may. You know, what bothers me about all of this, Chairperson, is we are talking about relatively rank and file people here. What bothers me is that our minister is not playing open cards with this portfolio. Because if he was, I've got an email from the IG of Intelligence which says, listen, I finished the report about your complaint. I acknowledge that this was my finding. Please speak to the minister. The minister shouldn't wait for this portfolio to ask him for the content of that report. He should bring it and tell us, listen here, this general has been up to that. That general has been found guilty of that. That general should go. But he's not doing this. What we're doing is we are attacking constables and sergeants here. So my last point, and this will be my outgoing point for this meeting, is that in the last parliament, in the last portfolio, Ordinance 40, Regulation 47 was discussed, Chairperson. Now, Regulation 47 speaks to golden promotions. And the NASCOM agreed in that meeting that this committee would be, informed of any golden promotions according to Regulation 47. General Kamalo was appointed using Regulation 47. This committee was not informed of it. This is the type of shenanigans happening around us. And we as a committee can't stay quiet about it. I also just want to say, sorry, man. General Patikile, you have not fully answered my question. But you know what? At least there's an attempt to answer. But we'll take that up at the next meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Adams. Honourable James.
Thank you so much, Chair. I just want to say that I cannot help but notice the cozy offices that most of these generals are sitting in, while our members don't even have a decent chair to sit on, while our communities don't have decent CSC offices. I think it's rather sad to note the appalling working environment members are expected to work in and deal with crime, while the generals are sitting in cozy, rugged out offices. It is definitely something. It was just something that caught my eye because I've been there, out there doing oversight, and I understand why the morale is low. And I'm specifically speaking again to the stations in the Western Cape that ranks very high when it comes to crime. Also, what I want to mention, the victimization and the bullying of members who raise concerns to us as members of this committee needs to stop. Chair, whenever I'm out there doing oversight and you find that we do have members who's willing to assist us, not willing to assist us for their own benefit, but willing to assist us in the best interest of that station, as well as that community where they raise concerns on, lack of resources, you find that when one leaves that station, 100 phone calls are being made within 5 minutes, and you find that everyone is being victimized, ostracized, And with the regard, you have members that's not keen on speaking to us because of what is unfolding. I'm going to say this again. Can the victimization and the ostracizing of members who are working please stop? Something else that I want to say, I'm listening to the blanket response with regards to the liquor officers, when we are being told this is what they're doing. We know that every province has its own board and its own regulation and its own rules. But again, speaking and referencing the stats, the members and the generals aren't able to give us even one example where there's been community engagement, one example where the community has opposed to the establishment of a liquor outlet, because those officers, I can tell you now, they come in for 2 hours and you don't see them for the rest of the day. Communities are not empowered in terms of their rights and in terms of their say when it comes to the establishment of liquor outlets in communities that poses a great risk and causes chaos. Can we do better when it comes to that? I also want to say that the fact that members are using their own resources, it's almost become the norm and it's become acceptable. Members are said to be using their own cell phones, and then we wonder why you have victimization of your witnesses and why witnesses are being gunned down, Chair, because in this day and age, imagine you have detectives and members having to take photos of the perpetrators on their own personal cell phones. I don't think that should be allowed. I think we should do something immediately that addresses state information that is being found on the cell phones of detectives. It is something that we need to look in immediately. I also want to say that the stations where we do conduct oversight, it's like we're running around like headless chickens. We go there, we highlight the plight, we highlight the fact, the lack of resources. The station gets bullied afterwards, but nothing happens. I'm going to ask here, what is going to happen to Delft that has been ranking part of the top 10? What immediate steps are going to be taken at Lentegeur? What immediate steps are going to be taken at Mitchell's Plain? Since it's been brought to your attention over and over again, as well as Eldorado Park, which was a bloodbath just this past weekend, where my phone was ringing from 11 o'clock. Literally every hour there's a shooting in that community. What is being done immediately to sort of bring peace to that community and to stabilize those communities in terms of the crime that is unfolding? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable James. Honourable Taibosh.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, yeah, sadly, now first and foremost, thank you to the National Commissioner for promising to come back on the breakdown on the murder figures in terms of gang shootings and women and children. Then, Chair, my questions on rape in prison cells as well as educational institutions were not really answered. I want to go on further. I want to say well done to the amount of drug-related arrests, 23,000. But can we have a similar breakdown on that figure than we have for the GBV incidents from January to March this year? Because that is broken down very nicely. I want to thank General Sibia for that. I also want to thank the official who did the breakdown on the firearms that were recovered. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate and I really do appreciate that, because it gives one an indication. Yeah, that's where I stop, Chair. That's Joe's request, and that my questions were not really answered except the first one. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Taibosh. I now want to switch on the timer for myself. If I go over time, can someone raise a point of order? I have a few questions that I would like to ask. The first one is just in terms of the conviction rates. I just want to make it very clear that the conviction rates that were shared today cannot be considered, in my opinion, as a success unless we consider how many cases were actually registered versus that conviction rate, because there's a large amount of cases that don't even make it to court, and where there is no form of prosecution. So I think, and I speak under correction, I think it's a SAPS 6 form that or report that would indicate to us conviction versus cases registered. So that's just important. I think in terms of what Honorable Ghana and several of the members so far have said, is it's important to create that context. So that's the first part. I think that SAPS 6 process needs to be included when we speak of this, because simply going on cases that actually went to court is not an accurate reflection. Just in terms of service delivery in many of these communities. Now, Honorable James touched on it, and I want to touch on it on unit, national, and even at station level. I'm going to use Parliament as an example. At the moment, and you'd know by now that I try and speak to as many police members as I can, and what I've been able to find out so far is that there are currently 3 of the K9 vehicles from Parliament's K9 unit that falls under national PSS that have been standing at Maitland Garage for over 8 months. One of them, I believe, has been at the garage for over a year. When we look at PSS, again, Parliament, just Parliament in general, over, I think there's 4 or 5 of their vehicles currently stuck at Maitland. So if we can't even ensure service delivery there, never mind all of the other places. And the reason I say it is because that should be considered a national key point, especially considering what has gone wrong in the past. So I mean, if that's the case with Parliament, then to be honest, I'm not surprised that is the case with some of the stations. We, a few months ago, did oversight at the anti-gang unit. They haven't received any additional vehicles to support them, and that's another example we can pull out. In terms of public order policing, not even half of the vehicles that were broken and that we reported in February already have been fixed yet. They are also still at Maitland. Then in terms of the victimization of members that speak out, and I assume that there could potentially, that could happen after I share the information about the vehicles, because they'll be told why they're sharing the information. You'd remember 2 or 3 weeks ago, I spoke about Constable Azarian Estrays in Paarl East that was paralyzed in an accident in Mariatsburg. Well, I've now been informed, and I have written to the police again, but I must share it with the committee, that he has now been told that he will be charged, disciplinary charge, because he spoke to the media. Now, colleagues, if we lose the compassion for assisting someone that's given basically his life to SAPS, he's been paralyzed in the line of duty, and then we charge him for speaking to the media because SAPS didn't cover his aftercare bills, medical bills, and he started a fundraiser, then we need to do a lot of introspection. And my recommendation in my letter was that they certainly do not continue with any disciplinary process, but that they make sure that he gets the relevant aftercare support, which is critical. The last 2 questions, just in terms of an integrated strategy, is when we look at the gang violence issue in the last few weeks, one part that I'm missing is we're simply looking at a policing issue. Is there some kind of a way that we know that there's an integrated strategy or approach with a combination of prosecuting authority, DCS, SAPS, and the Hawks? And how are we gonna ensure that it is integrated? Is it prosecution-led investigation with these gangsters and gang bosses, or is it simply arrest and then take and hope for prosecution on time? Thank you, colleagues. We then hand over back to General Masemola. General Masemola.
Thanks very much, Honorable Chairperson. Yeah, the the PC Northern Cape will deal with the significant increase in the murder rate. In general, what we know is that in Northern Cape, there is what we call seasonal workers. Normally, when they are around, crime goes up. When they leave, going back to their countries, like your neighbor Lesotho, then the crime also goes down. It affects mostly your Northern Cape, part of Western Cape and Eastern Cape, but the PC will be more specific on that, Honorable Chair. General Skukuni will also add on the farm murders, how they were murdered. In terms of the Department of Health, Honorable Chair, when they receive the underage females at the hospital for delivering, in terms of law, they do contact the nearest SAPS to say, we receive an underage who's coming to deliver a baby, and the FCS units, they open a case and the case gets registered and investigated accordingly. So all those rapes are included in the current statistics of rape. We will go and see if we can get all those numbers that relate to that and provide to the committee. On the matter that murder and the rest of crime did reduce, is it a coincidence or what we have done? We explained, Honorable Chairperson, that we have operations, Chanela, that we implement, and we use the crime threat and pattern analysis to deploy more resources when the crime is happening. Even provincial commissioners, they are out there in part, some of these operations, they physically go out and work. Unfortunately, yes, not all of them might not be able to access media, as we know. Most of our media is mainly based in Western Cape, Gauteng, and KZN. So those are the measures that assist us in reducing this crime, including your murder. But there are murders that happen indoors that we cannot prevent. But those that happen in public, to an extent, we do prevent them. And so if the honorable member says, is it coincident? Well, we don't regard it as a coincidence, because when the crime increases, which we again report it, we come to this committee, we report it, you see it where it is increasing. We don't hide anything, we give you, and we give the public as is. And we take ownership of what is happening, even though not all crime is policeable. So when it's decreasing, we think also, again, there should be credit given to the men and women in blue that spend sleepless nights protecting and working for the South Africans. Honorable Chair, and what Honorable Gunners have indicated and yourself indicated, we will adopt it in the future, Honorable Chair, that we give you the crime stats, and then immediately we give the performance based exactly on each crime for what we have done during that quarter. That we will do henceforth in the next coming. But also, we should also bear in mind that the performance that we would have given, like the stats that I gave, General Sibia gave on conviction on GBV, as I said, it does not necessarily relate to crimes that happen in that specific quarter. So that's why our comparison is this quarter and the quarter of the previous years. But we will be able then in the future to present the stats and give the whole performance, and then from there open it up for scrutiny by yourself. The question of why we open an inquest if a person is short, generally where the factors point out to a murder, we open a murder. And in certain cases where there is a clear indication that police were under attack, they were shot at, and they defend themselves, somebody then pass on. We do open an inquest, and of course the IPID will go to the scene, and they, from depending on the merits of what they see on the scene, they do sometimes direct that, no, in this case, we do open a murder. Even ourselves without IPID, where the scene is such that we think here we should open a murder, we do. And but also bear in mind that when an inquest has been opened, it doesn't mean that it will remain an inquest forever. If there are elements that says this is not an inquest, it's a murder, the case gets changed into a murder. Yeah, the questions of Honorable Adams on members that are on bail, I think, Honorable Chair, I did respond to that we are establishing trial units. We are about to implement the structure. We think the problem of delays of departmental cases will be reduced significantly when we have trial units, because currently we have supervisors and officers that are line managers that are doing the work, but at the same time, they must make time to preside over departmental cases, and which sometime when members end up coming with a lot of excuses to get cases to be postponed, at some point you'll find the officer himself is not available because of work. But we think trial units will assist us in this regard. And I think General Particularly also spoke to most of those matters. On the matter of the promotion of or the appointment of General Khumalo on Regulation 47, Honorable Chair, it's not only him. Yes, he was. You would understand we had the history of crime intelligence. We did look around, we advertised, we did headhunting. We end up doing headhunting and appointed him there because of, you will know the history of the division where we come from, the problems that we have, and we ended up appointing him on Regulation 47, which is not abnormal or illegal, it is legal, Honorable Chair. But what is quite strange is that Honorable Adams, I have not heard him once, just to say that Lieutenant General Khumalo was appointed from Major General to Lieutenant General, yes, which is one rank, the next rank. But what is strange, I haven't heard Honorable Adams asking why, if I can make an example, Major General Khan and Major General Mutli, they were also appointed on the same Regulation 47. And little bit extreme is that they were promoted from the rank of colonel. They jumped the rank of brigadier to Major General. But I've never heard him on a single day raising that or querying that or asking that be investigated. I find it quite strange, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable James, I'll allow the PC of Gauteng to speak on the crime in Gauteng, more especially Eldos and the other areas where we have gang violence. But I'm aware that we do have a Brigadier Mapoto that is heading anti-gang unit in this specific province of Gauteng. In the Western Cape, I already explained myself with the PC in terms of what we are going to do there in terms of the near future. Not that we are not doing anything now, but we want to improve the current situation that is happening in terms of adding additional resources and personnel in what is happening in the Cape Flats. I think the question of the context, I already answered that, Honorable Chair, but next time we will do that. And the problem of vehicles, we acknowledge it looks like the matters of contracts that we have now, they are not working for us in terms of repairs to vehicles, especially the outsourcing and so on. It's not really working for us. This financial year, we discussed with the minister that we need to find a better solution, but we also since decided that resourcing our garages, there's a lot of mechanics that are out there unemployed, and that will be quite a quick solution in assisting us to remedy the problem of vehicles in the garage. Honorable Chair, a member of the constable who's disabled and sick. If my memory serves me well, I don't have a quick answer on the spot there, but what I'm aware of is that the official has been given a home care. Currently, it is only us SAPS, as far as I know, with Polmet that we do give or provide a home care. But already what I know is that we have provided one nurse that I was told, but the member required that there be another one. So I must say I don't have all the details, and we'll go back and find those details. But indeed, the member will not be charged, of course. But when he has a problem, he must report to his commanders so that those matters can be attended to. But we will talk to the commanders that he shouldn't be charged, but yeah, I'm sure they'll reprimand him, not charge him for that he went out to the media. But indeed, he must speak to the various levels of commanders that he has so that he can be assisted. Injury on duty, such members do get assistance from us as SAPS. I will ask the two DNCs to add if there is any areas that I've left. General Sibia and then General Msikidi. Thanks, Honorable Chair.
Nothing from my side, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thanks, National Commissioner. Nothing from my side, except that, Chair, I think I am tempted to respond on the issue of the picture that appeared when I opened the video. It's a picture, it's not the office. There is no such an office in the South African Police Service. That will fine. Thank you.
Thank you, General Mosekile. General Masemola, thank you. Thank you for your response. Colleagues, I am going to allow, I just want to double check that I haven't missed any specific points that were mentioned. I firstly want to just thank General Masemola specifically for the feedback regarding the performance process on dockets or cases, General. It will make a huge impact if we can discuss it that way. Obviously, we understand that it's not necessarily the cases of the previous quarter, but that comparison, say, for example, if we choose specific categories like firearm-related matters, firearm seized versus convictions during the arrests of those seizures, what do they look like? Those types of things. I think something that stands out, and we have mentioned it previously, but it is something that we could possibly add again now, is I think we're moving in the direction of having some kind of a biannual or annual joint report when it comes to organized crime specifically, and that must be a joint report amongst SAPS, the Hawks, the MPA, and even SARS. I think there's quite a shortage with regards to the presence of the South African Revenue Service, and I'm not saying this as criticism towards them, but I think it's something that we need to work a lot closer with, especially with regards to gang kingpins. You know, we can adjust the strategy on the ground all we want, and obviously it's good to have the arrest, and it's good to follow procedure with regards to what follows on that for convictions and so on and so forth. But at the moment, we've got the case where, whether it's Eldorado Park, whether it is Nelson Mandela Bay, whether it's in the Cape Flats, where foot soldiers are simply replaced, and there are just purely so many that if we don't break the structure from the top as well, I don't think we can expect much of a significant change on the bottom. Something that came to my attention this past week, and we will still write on that, and we soon will engage with CIRA as well, but there is a part of SAPS involvement when it comes to the specific matter, was the case, and you would remember quite recently, the raid performed by the South African Revenue Service with the support of SAPS on a certain individual, I think Sean Mkhize, where a whole lot of firearms, amongst other things, were also found at the premises, I believe, in Johannesburg. Now, I've already questioned or sent questions with regards to CIRA, because during the raid, it was found that the certification with CIRA, as well as firearm licenses for the said firearms, had expired. And the reason I mention this here, because I think this describes a broader issue and why an integrated strategy is so important. I mention this because those firearms belong to a security company, actually two security companies that mainly operate in KwaZulu-Natal, and those companies are owned by a very, very well-known taxi boss. And there have been several incidences around the individuals involved there, which relates to extortion and all sorts of other things. Now, my question, and this is not for a discussion today, as I said, we'll engage when we have the engagement with CIRA on the specific matter, but surely that is a very, very good case study for when SARS is involved with a certain aspect of it. They pick up on other elements of the crime, and whether it's SAPS or DPCI, they can determine the mandate, but get involved with that investigation. And then there's a prosecution-led type of investigation that must happen to say, how do we, if at all, engage to make sure that any kind of kingpin that is benefiting from this obviously very lucrative structure is nailed for it. Now, my question to CIRA was, have you suspended services with that specific entity? And they said no. They did an investigation, no need to. Now, I disagree, and the reason I disagree is because CIRA has a responsibility that if they see or note anything that seems inadequate or in contravention of any legislation or regulation, they've got a responsibility to work with SAPS and any other relevant authorities to do what they need to do. Now, all of those firearms were taken for ballistic testing. But one interesting question was, what happened afterwards with the firearms? Were they given back to the owner? Because those firearms were being stored at a property, a private property, which shouldn't have been done. And also, according to what I could find out, not in the relevant storage facilities that they were meant to have. And obviously, it's not allowed to be stored at that private entity. The list goes on. Colleagues, I think you understand where I'm heading towards, and that's why a more integrated type of reporting structure is so important. And that's where a very basic start could be to give something regarding a SAPS 6 to show conviction versus cases registered. We obviously also do understand what General Sabia has said many a time, that we see all of these cases, but very often many of them have been withdrawn as well. So we need to take that into consideration with certain types of offences. I want to thank everyone from the South African Police Service for their detailed feedback today with that regard. But before I close the meeting, Honorable Mthethwa, I'm going to allow you shortly. Before I close the meeting, I want to give the DM Matale, the Deputy Minister of Police, an opportunity to possibly make some closing remarks from the SAPS point of view or the department's point of view. But I've also noted that I still have 3 hands up. I'm assuming Honorable Mthethwa's hand is up. And I just want to give them an opportunity before I officially close the meeting. May I first go to you, Honorable Mthethwa?
Thank you, Chair. I had asked a question around the farm killings. Given the issues that we are faced with, the falsified information about genocide, I asked how was the farm owner killed and how were the employees killed? That hasn't been responded to. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mthethwa. General Masemola, do you have that information on hand, or is it something that we can get and share with Honorable Mthethwa?
Thanks, Honorable Chair. I'll ask General Skukuni just to talk on that. We might not have that readily available. General Skukuni.
Thanks, Honorable Chair and the National Commission of Police. What we have here, without necessarily going into the details of how each person was murdered, but from the 6, what we see from the database is that 4 of the people were shot and 2 were stabbed with a knife. And one of the person who was stabbed with a knife was a farm owner. And it was in fact a dispute in terms of the grazing, where his cattle were assumed to be grazing in another farm. Then he was told that they're going to slaughter them. Upon going out to look out for them, then he was ambushed. Initially, it was recorded as a case of a missing person, and then later on, he was found stabbed. So one of the farm owners was stabbed, and then the 2 people were stabbed, 4 were shot at. But we do not have necessarily the breakdown in terms of who was shot and who was stabbed. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, General. I'm Honorable Mthethwa, are you comfortable with that?
No, thank you, Chair. I wanted to, the issue of genocide, to nullify the fact that the killings were not because of genocide that has been reported. This was just purely a murder situation where people were just fighting about an issue. It was not motivated by anything in relation to genocide. I'm happy with that one of the farmer. I wish I could also get the others to find out what was the motivation behind the shootings and that. But that's fine. That's fine. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mthethwa. Honorable Adams.
Yes, Chairperson. Thank you very much, Chairperson. I just want to put it on the table, Chairperson, that I'm here to do oversight. When I ask a question relating to Regulation 47 and I use an example, if the NASCOM wants to go on the defense, that's his problem. But I'm here to do my job. I have no ties. As a matter of fact, I will look into the promotion of General Khan and General Moodley, if I remember the second name properly. But I have no issue with that. But if I am to sit here and worry about people's sensitivities while my community is getting shot at, then I'm sorry, I won't. Just so that we have that clear. Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you for the way this meeting was managed today. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Adams. I then go to Honourable James. I don't know if it's a legacy hand, Honourable James, or if your hand is up.
Thank you so much, Chair. No, it's not a legacy hand. I just want to say that the National Commissioner asked the Provincial Commissioner to respond to my question. I see that wasn't done pertaining to Eldorado Park and the other areas. And then I also want to ask, Chair, through you, if I may, there's a matter of national importance. I'm sure we've all heard about the Jaden Lee Meek murder that unfolded now in May. Chair, I have since written to your office requesting for an urgent intervention by the Portfolio Committee. Chair, now in my mind, when we hear at our police stations, child missing, the response and the reaction should be is to activate all units. Instead, Chairperson, we see that communities are still being told, come back within 24 hours. We still find, specifically with the Jaden Lee Meek case, that the mother was actually told to go back and get a photo, and which was crucial time. We find that the area wasn't swept, and there's many things that I want to get into. But Chair, I just wanted to bring it to your attention that I have written to you, Chair. And I think that it is time that we hold the station commanders to account. Too often we find the National Commissioner has to come and account for members that's not doing their jobs, or the minister has to come and account. We need to set a precedence now that where you are the head of a particular station, you need to come and account to Parliament. That boy's life could have been saved. I'm of the opinion his body was found, I think, the next morning, just a couple of meters away from his mum's house. Evidence was found in the bin in the complex a week later. When SAPS Florida was notified, I think they took 2 hours to respond to even that. This is a matter of national importance. You have activists that has gathered in the Western Cape. I'm almost sure that they are preparing a picket and a march again. I'm asking, Chair, that the members and that you seriously that you consider my request to summons the station commander and to summons the activists to present to the Portfolio Committee what unfolded on the evening when that boy was reported missing in Fleur-of to the Florida SAPS. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable James. I'm going to use the opportunity immediately, if I may ask the honourable members to whether they are willing to approve. I'm going to do it the same way as we do with minutes, for example. Can we do you support what Honourable James has asked? Can I, let's say, get a show of hands? And if supported, then a second to that. And if not, we say so. Honourable members. Honourable Mtetwa.
I support, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Mtetwa. Honourable Taibosh.
Fully support, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Taibosh. Honourable James, as the committee then shows support, we will work on the arrangements for that. We will consider the relevant dates. It might be outside of allocated time, just purely because of the parliamentary program. But I think for a matter that is considered so important to the committee, it doesn't matter. Even if we have to sit in an evening or a very early morning, then we do what we need to do. And then Honourable James, I will also then formally write back and confirm this to you. But it's just to say to you that it is therefore granted, and that we would have that session. Colleagues, I have to start closing the meeting. I want to ask DM Boshielo to say a brief closing remark before handing over to DM Matale to do the same, from where we will then conclude the business for the day. DM Boshielo.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and good afternoon to members and DM Matali and also Netcom and the colleague. Firstly, I want to answer direct answer for Honorable Taibosh. Yes, Honorable Taibosh, we had almost 2 meetings with the Minister of Education and the Deputy Minister of Education, and we agreed that we need to have a program where we proactively make sure that this rape and murders don't occur at our schools. And we agreed that we must immediately identify, like that one where a 15-year-old raped a 7-year-old, and then the other who killed a learner. We need to be able to prioritize them and call their parents together with community leaders and come together and see what best can we do, because it happens right inside the school, and we need to really do about it. They were very, very positive, and I think we'll be able to do that. And then the other issue, I think it was asked by Honorable Ghana or somebody. Yes, we do meet with various departments to be able to work together. We meet with the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. We also have program of going to court to see what is going on. We have also asked them that they must talk to the magistrates and the judges that they must start work at 7 o'clock and knock off at 5 o'clock like anybody, because they normally would start at 10 o'clock. 11 o'clock, they go for tea. 1 o'clock is lunch, and they no longer come back. So, but if all of us can assist us in doing the matter, we will be able to go far. We also spoke to the Department of Social Development to say, is it possible for us to have at least one social worker at each and every police station, which might not be able to happen in 1 year, given the finances that we have, because this social worker will also be able to go into the communities and look at the social factors that can assist both of us to be able to deal with the issue. We also met with the correctional services, because now of recently we've seen that most of the crimes are committed from the correctional service. And in that regard, you also want to go into the technology in terms of your grepper, where you are able to switch off the signal, especially in your police station, your body cameras, because things have advanced, and we're looking at that. And in terms of, I think it's Honorable Schilling, you asked about the rape and what we can do. It's a very difficult issue. Like the National Commissioner have said, if it is done in our home by a person you know, you will only obviously know after. If they report, and in most cases, especially in the rural areas, they don't report at all. So I think, yes, we need to have a way of coming back with something that will assist. And in terms of the stats, they also assist us to plan and understand where most of the crime is. On Friday, I was in Toyando. I met the traditional leaders there, Wutobela Mpapudi, and also many NGOs that work on the gender-based violence. And all of us, it was very successful, more than 2,000 marches. It's called Empowerment Women, Lishaba Vana Foundation, Real Men Foundation, Rola Pilu Foundation, Munandini Foundation, the Eye of the Nation, GBV ambassadors, and everybody. Correctional Service also brought a prisoner who is paroled but was in jail for rape. And he was able to talk to the school children to say crime does not pay and what. So I think because this one is within ourselves as the MPs, if you do also the same issues and we do from the side of the police, it will work. What is also worrying me, Chair, personally, is that we need, you as the committee, you need to do your oversight in the whole of South Africa. Sometimes you listen at the questions that we are being asked. It will only be the question if that you will only one or our members will ask questions from the areas that they come from. I've not heard anybody saying something about Northwest, about Limpopo, about what, because you don't have MPs that come from that area. I would appeal to you that the problem is not only in Western Cape, where we have gone many times. Samora Machel, we have went to Atlantia, went to Hanover, trying to talk to people on what to do. Dear Matali even went to El Dorado Park. So, but I'm saying let's take the whole of South Africa and not concentrate on others which are they don't have members of parliament, but they also some problem. Lastly, Our police are killed as they try to do this, because now the criminals are at advanced stage, and then they use guns. I'm for sure you have heard when they were reading some guns. So in one or the other, we need to really be able to arm our policemen to be able to meet this fire by fire. And also the last one, I appealed to you 2 weeks ago, Chair. At one stage, ourselves as the executive and members of parliament, of course, and yourself as the portfolio, we should be able to have a meeting with the Minister of Finance and try to show him that these are the problems that we have in the police. We don't have enough resources. If they can give us enough resources, this will help in terms of bringing the crime down, because the crime is just not on, and you can help. You can ask every time and be on us, but if we don't have money to buy cars, if we don't have money to buy chairs, if we don't have money to have anything, it's not going to help. But we must be brave together and go and stand for the police out there who are facing danger in respect to what, and try to assist us. In that regards, thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, DM Bushielo. I must emphasize the killing of police. The last quarterly statistics showed a total of 22 members that were killed in the last quarter of the 24-25 financial year. It's a significant number. And yesterday I had the privilege of speaking with a group of parliamentarians from Europe, and when I shared with them the amount of police members killed, they were in shock. They could not understand, how serious, couldn't comprehend how serious the threat is. So I can't emphasize that enough. And all of the rest certainly agree. Thank you, DM Bushielo. I then hand over to DM Matale.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity for us to make comments. The members and DM Bushielo, the National Commissioner, and the team, I think what members should understand is that from the ministry and the department, we appreciate each question that members are raising. They don't have to raise every other question, but whatever at that moment they raise, for us, we take it very serious, and we respond to the best of our abilities. I'm saying this in the context of the comments that Honorable Adams made. That I think probably the National Commissioner in the course of responding, he might have responded in the manner that triggered the response of Honorable Adams. He doesn't have to ask a question that he didn't ask. He asked a specific question, and our responsibility is to respond to that specific question. And I do understand that the regulations are there for us to do our work within the subspace and in crime intelligence. And the context of the appointment of General Khumalo is understood by everybody. We were rebuilding that, and we needed to get somebody who can come into the system and really help us to get crime intelligence reorganized. And General Khumalo, so far he has done an excellent job. He needs our support in this regard, and we should offer him that necessary support. There are still challenges in that space, challenges which we're working together with yourselves and the Joint Standing Committee. We must support that we decisively deal with those issues. The issue of the completion of the investigation report by the IG, who has written to Honorable Adams. I think he has written to him to give him information, and through the relevant platform, the Joint Standing Committee, the matters will be processed. There is nothing that the ministry is going to hide, and the Minister of Police have been at the forefront of encouraging openness and fairness in the dealing with issues that have to do with police. And even on this specific matter, I think he's providing an appropriate leadership. He did indicate that as the investigations are concluded, issues will be handled accordingly, and this will not be an exception. The issue of a joint committee that Honorable Mthethwa asked, Chair, I think this was debated in Parliament, because I think he's raising it in the context of the motion of which the EFF sponsored, which led to a debate in Parliament, and Parliament took a particular view around this. And we think we'll be guided by what is resolved there. But at this platform where the chair is and the committee, collaboration with other departments, joint sittings with other committees to call departments to come, that will be highly appreciated. For example, we talk about GBV. There was an issue around the delays in DNA. There have been a project which was driven by the deputy ministers in the 6th administration, working together with NPA to specifically make sure that we deal with the backlog, and we decisively dealt with that backlog. And I think that's why the National Commissioner is saying there is no backlog. But from where you are standing, you don't hear what NPA is saying. And sometimes in the media space, people talk of a backlog. But unless you get the opportunity to have a joint session with the Committee of Justice, and we invite the Department of Justice and the NPA to specifically discuss the backlogs that members might think are there. Then when the NPA says we don't have backlogs, members will then understand that indeed there are no backlogs, because we have worked with them on a project. I was part of that process, and it really helped us in this regard. But I think it will be better if we have the prosecution authority and ourselves talking the same language. And I think the idea of joint committees come in that regard, but not only on GBV, but generally around the issues that were raised by Honorable Taibosh, for example, on the issue of rape, the Department of Education, the Department of Social Development. We also need a joint session where we can discuss these issues. But then this also brings us to the integrated violent crime prevention strategy, which espouses for the whole of government approach to the fight against crime. It will be important that at some point, Chair, we coordinate other committees and other departments that have a role to play as far as the issues of reducing violent crime in the country. Until we reduce the conditions that create this type of criminality, we will continuously complain about crime in the country. And I think it's high time that we must up the game. The successes that we're talking about today, Chair, this happened because of the work that we have put on the ground. If you look at the number of wanted criminals that we have arrested through Operation Chanel, I think we must create an opportunity to come and brief the committee that we have so many wanted criminals, let alone people that we have arrested that runs into thousands, but criminals who were wanted that we were able to arrest during this period. That is has made a contribution, because the criminals, when they are out there, they continue to commit crimes. But when you bring them down, you arrest them, it will definitely have an impact. And I think this initiative and this engagement have made a meaningful engagement. Maybe lastly, Chair, the issue of which was propagated in the last 2 weeks, that there is genocide around the killing of white farmers. That was it's propaganda. It doesn't exist. And even yourselves as a committee, you have had a meeting where the issue of farm killings were discussed. And it has become clearly that statistically, there is no proof of mass murders. We have never had mass murders. We have never had mass burials in South Africa of farmers because they are who have been targeted. I think it's a ploy by the current administration in the US to project an image of victimization of white people in the country. It doesn't exist. Even the statistics that were presented today here does not support that view. Chair, we are grateful for the leadership that you are providing together with the committee. We have heard the questions you have raised around service delivery related issues, the problems of Maitland, and I think the National Commissioner tried to answer answered that question. We will forever be indebted to how you hold us accountable for our work, and we appreciate this greatly. We know you ask us very difficult questions sometimes, Chair, together with your team, but you make us better people every time we come and appear before the committee, and we want to thank you for the leadership you are providing, and appreciate committee members for the good work that they are doing. Of course, our police officers, we must not always whip them with a salted whip. Where they do good, let's appreciate that and thank them for the good work under the leadership of General Masemula and the provincial commissioners and all other officers throughout the country. Yes, indeed, station commanders who don't do their work, we must hold them accountable, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear Matale, for your detailed remarks and feedback. I must thank you as well for being so accessible with regard to the questions and the requests and so on and so forth. It's important to recognize the successes, and you would have noted in media releases as well the welcoming of the improvement in quite a few categories, especially properly policeable categories, where we have seen decreases. So it's important to acknowledge and also congratulate the South African Police Service for showing improvement. It's exciting to know that things seem to be turning, and it's positive for the future. Thank you everyone for your input today. We will engage again as a committee. Remember, this coming Friday at an in-person meeting with members of Parliament from Kenya, specifically regarding their own version of IPID, and we look forward to welcoming you there. You have also received the relevant programs, etc., that Babawa shared with everyone. Colleagues, thank you very much again. Have a wonderful day. The meeting is closed.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Aria.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Voorzitter.